Please bear with us this episode as we've encountered several technical difficulties in the production of this installment. It was highly joked that maybe God had intended us to watch all of the Transformers Unicron trilogy. However, as difficulties continued to arise and recording sessions had to be rescheduled, that joke was slowly becoming a reality because the intention of this episode was to watch and review Armada. However, as time progressed, we slowly had to add each sequel series, both including Cybertron and Energon, not necessarily in that order. We left to hide the pain, we cried on the inside, and we may even introduce a new guest, Craig, who is acting as our backup recorder in this episode. So please enjoy this roller coaster of emotions and callbacks to quote-unquote lost episodes as my guests and I do our best to maintain our composure and our sanity in reviewing this trilogy. Now, without much further ado, please enjoy our episode. Welcome, one and all, throughout time and space for this episode of Weebs on the Weekends, the podcast where we give a retrospective look on an anime that premiered 10 years ago or more and see if they meet the standards of modern-day anime. Today's episode, we're keeping in theme for a mini block that we're doing to honor some anime that was premiering on Toonami. And the one that we're reviewing today is the 2002 anime Transformers Armada. That is a little bit over 20 years old. My name is Sam Martinez. I'm a part-time weeb, full-time automail mechanic, and today we have not one, but two guests to speak about mechas with today. One of them is a returning guest that we have. He's been on here talking to us about Gundam Age and G Gundam. We have none other than Ellis. Woo! And then we have a newcomer whose love for mecha is arguably just as passionate, and his name is Robb. Robb with two B's. Now, gentlemen, just want to say thank you both for coming on today. Really appreciate it.
Thanks Absolutely.
And
gracious guests.
Yes. Oh my goodness. And
always happy to return.
What'd you say, Ellis?
Always happy to return.
Yes. And I gotta say too, like, it was interesting writing up the synopsis. It just made me realize that all three of us are in the medical industry. And I feel like we should have like a group name, like the Mecha Medicals or something like that. What do you guys think?
Sounds good to me. Were there some Transformers that did medical stuff? Are we the Ratchets and Ratchets and Wheeljacks?
As long as we're not the Pharmas, I'll be happy.
We're no big pharma over here. We do things naturally.
No. Are you a little bit more holistic, Ellis?
No, just Pharma in the comics was a psychopath.
Oh wait, so Pharma was an actual character then. Ooh, which side was Pharma on?
He was an Autobot, but he was collecting transformation cogs for Tarn.
Oh, so like he would loot the battlefield, or he would actively take them out while they were still living?
Actively take them out when they were still living.
Oh, so he was basically a Nazi doctor, is what you're saying.
Yeah, basically, or make them not living to take them out.
Ooh, okay.
Okay, and he's an Autobot. Oh man.
Yeah.
How would he get?
They
past
need to
the
have
screening?
Exactly.
It was basically a protection racket. It was, we won't blow up your medical facility, but here's what you got to do.
And we're back, happy listeners. It seems like we've never left. We had recorded an episode and things had happened. Apparently the app that I was using didn't like that we veered a little bit into Nazi doctor territory and decided to stop rendering the rest of the episode. But it did in fact happen, and I'm sure it's going to be out there somewhere in the future. But thankfully, Ellis and Robb were very gracious to come back and record with me yet again. And so initially what we thought we were going to do, we were just going to talk about Armada. And because there was some time between we can get back for recording, we decided to watch the sequel series to Armada, Energon, in the meantime, so that we can sort of compare the two. Because we did talk about, well, Ellis did mention that as the franchise went on, it did get better. And now Rob and I can sort of pick our bones with him on whether or not that was the
case. Yeah, that's going to be a topic point. For sure.
I still maintain that it's better than Armada.
Is it though? I would say.
Well, it was a low bar. It was a low bar, but then so it was very plausible what he was saying. So yeah, it gotta be better. It gets better, right?
Listen, when the bar is buried,
when the bar is buried,
that's true. You did not say it was good. You just said it was better.
he did.
Correct.
He did. When
the bar is buried like a cat turd in a sandbox. Not hard to rise above it.
If only we had the recording to listen to his exact words, I could have picked up on that.
No, it's going to be on the work of the listeners. They're going to have to find that out because, like, with all the work that we did, it's like we're a little bit too fatigued to rehash everything.
No, can't say another word about Armada.
I'll even still go as far to say it was way better. But that just goes to allude to our dear listeners as to how much we did not enjoy Armada.
Yes. So, okay, before we continue, let me at least give them a little bit of background or just a recap on like the studios and stuff, because in the research that I did up to this, like we talked about, like it this is part of a 3-part series. It's Armada, Energon, and Cybertron in that order, and it's all done by Studio Actus. And it's bare to mention that Actus became a good studio later on in terms of their animation and some of the projects they take under, which is GirlsundPanzer, Wistoria Wand and Sword. And if you want to watch, if you're a brave soul and you would like to watch these series, you can go on to Tubi, Pluto, or Amazon Prime, or even on YouTube. Because Rob, you said that you watched it like 2 times the speed to try and get through.
This is the first time in my life I wanted to buy like the Prime or whatever it's called, YouTube Red, so that I could watch on 3 times speed. But
they have a 3 times speed. Okay, I didn't know
they do only, but it's premium. So I was like, oh man, I'm kind of thinking about it right now. It's just, it was such a crunch at the end there trying to finish, but yeah, no, I did.
Okay, so yeah,
it was fine. Minimal commercials too.
Really, on the 2 times speeds, that's good.
Yes, I guess they assume no one's watching it. I don't know. For whatever reason.
Oh my goodness! So I would say, damn it, Ellis had mentioned something that was similar to, because like what I normally like to do is like I like to do like a hot take like before and after, but because we essentially just like binged Energon. I'm just a little bit too tired, but like I felt like no, Ellis, I can't tell if it was like it was a joke or if it was for real, but I felt like you had a hot take that you felt strongly about regarding Energon. Am I correct in saying that or no?
Well, my hot take is the same hot take that I had with Armada.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it's a hot take that I have with the Michael Bay films as well.
Really? I don't remember it applying to the Bay films.
People
out
my giant robot story.
Oh my goodness. Yes. There's no room for flesh and blood in a world full of metal, right?
Right. Like to segue a little bit Gundam is different, but that's because the robots aren't alive. They're not sentient. They're a tool.
Mm-hmm.
In Transformers, they're characters. They have their own lives. They have their own stories. I don't need fleshy, squishy bits.
Yeah, I think Kicker riding RC just felt wrong. It's like, hey, little
okay. Now that you think about it, because I remember whenever we've talked individually, Rob, and you're gonna have to remind me like why RC is such a big character for you. But I know like when she popped up, I'm like, oh, I'm sure Rob's gonna love this. But like now that you mention it, I'm just like thinking about all the scenes where like he was with her, and I'm just like. I can only imagine like sitting there watching it with you, and you're like, "How dare you desecrate RC like that?"
Right.
Like I bet you didn't even wash those buns before you sat upon her smooth, silky leather.
So it was okay when his dirt bike was the Minicon in male, but it's not okay when it's RC.
What was his dirt bike a Minicon? I couldn't remember.
Yeah,
it's been so long since he's used the dirt bike.
I think it was like the first episode, or it was.
It was the same character as Rad's bike in.
No, it was.
Okay.
Yeah. Bro, they did that character so dirty. They did a lot of the Minicons dirty, dude. Because it's like, again, like this is supposed to be like a sequel series, right? So, I thought that like the writing was because we it was mentioned it was going to be better, so I thought it was going to be good, and I'm used to having cartoons with strong continuity, like so I'm thinking about like Ben 10 maybe, because like Ben 10 was episodic, but like it still had like a very vague flow through line, so it was like nothing too bad. But whenever I would think about like good cartoons, it's like. And I'm realizing that these are. It was brought to my attention that before that these are the exceptions to the rule. So like say like Danny Phantom or Avatar, Teen Titans, right? It's like the writing's good. It's like that's now my expectation. But just to go back, right? Because like it's supposed to be like a sequel series. So like okay, so like maybe minicons are going to be a thing because like. They were a big thing in the previous series. It's like they were maybe mentioned like the first 3 episodes, and like Kicker's sword was the Sky Boom shield. No, not the Sky Boom shield, but it's like the Skyward Sword is what it was called.
That's a Zelda. That's a Zelda game that you just mentioned. Sky Saber.
Yes.
I think Star Saber.
Star Saber. Yeah.
Star Saber. It was supposed to be the badass end all sword that can cut through almost anything. But even in Armada, it pissed me off because Optimus Prime would just like catch it with his bare hands, right, and nothing would happen to him. It was like, okay, plot. Armor, I guess, whatever. But like,
wasn't there a scene in Armada where Starscream has it in his hand, and he just casually throws it over his shoulder to Hotshot, and it spins like 4 million times in the air, and dude catches it by its handle. I'm like, this was hyped to be a potential world-breaking weapon. And y'all are playing frisbee with it.
Exactly.
When mom comes home, it's like you're throwing around my good china or something, Like somebody's got to be the adult in the room.
And it's made up of 3,
minicons.
Minicons who are alive. So it's like you take the 3 toddlers in a trench coat and just toss them a lot.
Their leg and core strength are so strong, keeping everybody together.
They're like holding their breath. They're like, please let me out of this.
Exactly. But like, what was the point that I was trying to say? Yeah, because like you said, it's like these 3 individuals, they become one, and like. And Kicker is using this sword, like, I mean, again, like, it's just, like, very commonplace. It's, like, nothing's made it seem like it was standard issue. And even then, he would use it like a hoverboard or surfboard, something like that. And, I mean, it's kind of cool, but it's just, like, what's going on? Like, I felt like I guess like just like binging Armada and then going into Energon, it feels like my work was like thrown out the window, right? And then
Well,
we're introduced to like these new type of what's the phrase? These new type of Transformers.
right.
I think it was like the Omnicons is what they were called. It
Yeah,
was
exactly.
yeah,
The Omnicons and the Terrorcons.
yeah, Omnicons and the
There's the
Terracons.
yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like I guess there are like mini cons where it's like there are another type of workers, but it's like they can only like mine Energon. And I would say because Ellis had mentioned this before, where how because what my complaint about Armada was like there wasn't enough characters to warrant the name Armada, and then when an actual Armada showed up, it didn't feel like the cast grew at all. But like here, like it felt like we were dealing with like a civilization that was thriving, different types of people. There were times where it's like, okay, it may be a little bit overloaded, but it's like a world wealth of characters that you can pull from, right? And I would say like it was good in that regard. Um, okay,
Well, I'll
yeah,
just talk to you about that
yeah,
because we know this about Transformers is that
mhm,
it's the elephant in the room, right? It's a toy commercial, right? So
yeah,
like if you harken back to the original movie, like they just literally killed people. Like, oh, we're gonna, stop selling Optimus. Let's just kill him and every other Transformer that you grew up loving. So now
to
what they
force people
do,
to look to newer toys.
right. I don't want to say now because it was like 20 years ago, but it's mine now. So, but it seemed very clear. It's like, okay, we can't like just literally kill, although they killed a few characters. We have to
Mm-hmm.
repurpose them or
Mm-hmm.
just push them aside. So like the mini cons serve their purpose in the first one. So now we need to get the kids to buy something completely different. And so they just kind of phase them out. So it's not like they're trying to have continuity. They're trying to introduce this one was
Please
very
don't
clear.
bring
They were
up
just trying to
continuity. Please don't
they
bring
they
up
were just trying to
continuity. I
right. They were just trying to introduce
uh,
as many
yeah.
toys as they possibly. This was so loaded with toys. Maybe Armada they didn't know if it was going to sell very well, and then it did, and now they're just like, okay, we're just gonna pound this. We're gonna change the color of every character like every 5 episodes, and we're gonna
Yes.
reboot characters, and we're gonna change their names even, and we're gonna like, and it was just like, wow, like that kind of was obvious. I thought throughout. And I wanted all
Yeah,
of them as a kid inside me. I wanted to buy all of them, but at the same time, yeah, you just there was a lot of switching around.
and to further piggyback on what you just said,
Mm-hmm.
this was, in my opinion, the first Transformers series where well, no, because Beast Machines did it too, but they had a heavy focus on the Terracons and the Omnibots being drones. So it was like, hey, let's army build this.
Mm-hmm.
You can buy 4 or 5 of the same character
Yeah, they were
because
the yeah.
there's like several of them on the screen at once.
Yeah. I made a
Oh
note
yeah,
that the
and
Terracons were the putties of the from like Power Rangers. They're the putties or the Foot Clan from Ninja Turtles. They're just ones that you had to everybody's toy collection that you see as turtles. They had like 7 foot soldiers, right? And exactly what you're saying. Do you want to summarize? I don't mean
Mhm.
to be the teacher in the room, but would you like to summarize a little bit like the story of
Oh, so
Energon?
yeah. We could do that with
Oh yeah, that's
Energon.
what this podcast is about.
Exactly, right?
I'm just thinking like I've listened to podcasts and they're like 30 minutes in. I'm like they still have not talked about it. And I get annoyed, but
So
so yeah, no, officially.
but essentially the events of Energon, it's again like as I said before, Armada, Energon, and Cybertron. It's a trilogy, and it's in sequential order, chronologically. Armada happened first, where you have the events with the search for the minicons, which is essentially um, an arms race for the minicons. And with Energon, we are thrown a few years into the future where the humans have a good rapport and relationship with the Autobots and the Transformers in the aftermath of Armada. And in this world, they're looking to build different buildings and societies like for themselves, and they are mining an energy, excuse me, source known as Energon, so that they can continue their feats in order to expand and grow as a joined society. In the in their progress of doing so, there are rumblings in the dead husk of Unicron, where a group begins to start searching for Energon, and instead of mining their own, they essentially try to steal from the joined efforts of the people groups that were previously mentioned. And so that's where we're with Energon, where we are following the people, we're following the Autobots, and at this time some of the Decepticons, because of the end results of Armada, they're all working together in the beginning, and we're seeing them having to deal with this force that's mining Energon, and it's seeming as though they're mining it for the supposed resuscitation of Unicron. And that's sort of the backdrop for Energon. And as we mentioned before, this sets things up so much more interesting. And to Ellis's point, it definitely starts out better. It feels like it has a better handle on the story, and because you have this group of people who used to fight against each other, they're now working with each other, trying to make a society. You have good opportunities to make interesting writing, interesting character choices. We've seen this in Transformers Armada and with Starscream, where he's thrown into situations we normally wouldn't see, and we get to see different aspects of his personality. In Energon, we get to see a little bit of this in the beginning with Demolisher and what was Snowcap's name at that time? I forget.
Cyclonus.
Yeah, Cyclonus. Because at this time, Demolisher, he's working as the guard to one of the cities, and Cyclonus, he's running security on the moon. So it's like they've, because of their joint efforts, they have really expanded. So they definitely show that, like, if all these people group work together, a lot can get accomplished in a short amount of time. And I say short amount of time because apparently the series takes place 2 years after the events of the previous series.
I think it's 10 years.
20.
It's 10 or 20. Yeah, it's 10 years.
20 years.
Yeah,
it's not, because Brad.
No, it is.
Brad
it is 20.
Brad's age, canonically in both series. Brad is 10 in Armada, and
right.
He is 12 in Energon.
No. The first episode tells you. My memory is 10 years, of course.
Okay.
But you're saying 20 years. But either way, it's enough for them to be grown up. Like they're grown.
No.
Grown
Yes. But I looked it up last night. Maybe I was looking at the wrong site, and I probably need to go back and do research again. But I was just say it again.
It's the continuity problem.
That's it.
Because in the first episode they say it's been 20 years.
Yeah, yes. It's the Sally Rad problem as well. Like, how old is Sally and all this? Well, Rad is from the first, and Sally's like Dr. Jones's daughter, and they, there's some blushing and innuendo towards the end. So,
Dude, age is. I'm sorry, you were saying?
Oh, I just said, but yeah. So there's, I don't know the humans. They don't like specifically. They don't have birthday parties for the humans in the during
The only birthday party that
series.
we had was for Starscream. That's the only birthday party we've seen. But
so in the first episode, it is 10, but it
Okay.
is also noted that they said 20 in the first episode.
Yeah, well, they have translations issues throughout, right?
Yeah,
Like
they
they mix
do.
up mix up Cliff Jumper and Downshift, and then they decide then it's Cliff, even though he looks like Wheeljack, and they decide that from the original, but they decide the names change sometimes, and that happens. Like, you know, like Shock Blast is well, he's essentially Shockwave from the original, but the name of the episode was not Shock Blast. It was like his name from the Japanese. I can't remember what it was, but it was his name from the Japanese series. So they mess up a little bit. So I'm not surprised they messed up some numbers too. But he's definitely not. Rad is not a 12-year-old working the command center of Cybertron. I'm pretty sure.
I would like to think not, but if it's if the article that I read is correct, it's just like, what is going on? Because
no,
that was the thing that made me frustrated, because Ellis had mentioned, like, it's the continuity thing, because we get to see the main human. So to Ellis's point, right, like, as Energon and as the series gets better, it seems like they limit the amount of human interactions, because in Armada we get 5 human characters, and like that's always constantly there. And in this one, the constant, we maybe get up to 2. Later on in the series, it's a little bit more, but because they weren't as prevalent, like, they're only there for situational reasons, so like it feels, it doesn't feel forced. Like, it's like, okay, this was going to happen, right? But the point is, like, we only get like one main human interaction, which is through Kicker. His interaction with the different Transformers. And we get Kicker's backstory, where, again, because like the timey-wimey stuff is like, oh, I was like 5, or he was a young kid looking like 5 or 6, where the Autobots started working with his father to, help start building Planet Cybertron. I'm sorry, not Planet Cybertron, but like the cities in Earth, the Moon, and Mars, things like that. And when we see Kicker, well, when we're introduced to Kicker, Kicker is older than the characters previously in Armada. In Armada, we see them when they're adolescent. With Kicker, he's clearly a teenager. So
does it make sense to you though, knowing that because it says in the episode 10 years later? So I was going by that. So I didn't have that continuity issue, because you could say if they started working together 10 years ago and he was 5, he would be about 15 now, which makes sense.
Oh,
I mean,
no. Like just going off of that, like it does make sense. But then, as I said, like going back and reading it, because, like, as I say, like going back and reading with what I saw was the alleged correct ages, is that at the same time, Kicker was 14 when Rad was 12. And that was what had that conflict in me, is like, no, this can't happen, because Rad is clearly older than Kicker. Is like, you can't go ahead and throw these sort of numbers at me. But I digress. But I would say so, like I said, just like going back, it's like the setup for Energon, it's a lot stronger than Armada, and it starts out pretty good too. And I do want some of your thoughts on this as well, because, like, for me, I want to say, like, this was that setup where they have the Autobots and the Decepticons, like, working in harmony. Well, not necessarily harmony, but at least like working amicably together, right? For such a long period of time, because whether it's 2 or 10 years, it's like they've been working together continuously for a good bit, for a good amount, and they were able to accomplish so much. I sort of wanted your thoughts individually on this, on like have you experienced anything like this before, or was this anything that you would expect if both sides were to work alongside by side each other like this? We can start with Ellis.
Well, let me think about that for a split second. I think that they were all working together for a common goal because, at the end of the day, the Autobots and the Decepticons both want, Cybertron to survive and to be, and, to advance and thrive. So I think
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to that, yeah, to that end, they were working amicably. Although Demolisher and Cyclonus and Tidal Wave in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
all at different times threatened to shoot the Autobots. Like, it was not, I don't think it was very harmonious.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
think it was just working toward a common goal.
Mm-hmm. Or
But
working so they're not at least imprisoned, like Shockwave or
yeah,
Shock Blast. I'm sorry.
right. And that's the best comparison I can make for it to stay within the Transformers franchise
Mm-hmm.
is the IDW comics after the war's over, when they're working back together and trying to reform Cybertron society.
Mm-hmm.
um they do start trying to reintegrate the society and work together. And it I don't want to, it doesn't go very well, honestly. There's been so much that happens in between the two groups, and I think that's what's kind of happened here.
Oh no, no, for sure.
um
And because as I said, it's like the other side of a civil war, and thinking back
yeah,
on it, I'm just like, yo, Transformers is just about a people group making their civil war the universe's problem. It's just like, what's going on? Um, but like on any side of the war, like you said, it's just like both sides have done things that they probably weren't proud of that made the other side feel some sort of way, and trying to make these two sides work together, there's always going to be friction, there's always going to be tension there.
right. And I always kind of, and this is something that I was sorely, I guess the best way to put it would be like disappointed in,
Mm-hmm.
is because we had the young Autobot character in Ironhide,
Yeah.
where he's new.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't a part of the war. He wasn't a part of the war, but we didn't get that from the Decepticon side.
Oh, that's a good
We
point.
never had that. And what I would have loved to have seen, because the whole idea, at least at the beginning of this series, was Autobots and Decepticons working together.
Mm-hmm.
So to find Energon. So I wish we had that point of view where it was a young Decepticon that was also, you know, sort of like the antithesis to Ironhide, instead of it ending up being Scorponok, which I guess the argument could be said that Scorponok did fulfill that role, but he was a Terracon. So it wasn't really, in my opinion, the same.
Yeah, that was, I would say like that would sort of bring to question, is like, because like in this time of peace, like essentially the Autobots were essentially like on top, so like any like new recruits or anybody else like that, I would think they would sort of just get like washed up into the quote unquote Autobot programming. So if they're the ones on top. Like, how would you introduce a new Decepticon, right? In that sort of society, unless like there was like this isolated, separate Decepticon cell that was like on a distant planet or something else like that. Would that something? Would you think that would have worked story wise? Or yeah.
Yeah, like my thought would be like the young Decepticon would have come online at the tail end of Armada. Like
Oh, okay,
at
yeah.
the very tail end of Armada. And then, still got to see like the defeat of the Decepticons essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And, the what happened with Unicron, but in that aspect to kind of form it because, you know, we hmm, I'm trying not to draw parallels with Gundam. I'm trying real hard. I'm trying real hard not to point to do that because we
Why hold
actually get
yourself
to.
back?
All right, cool. We get to see that in Gundam all the time, where
Yeah.
like somebody grew up in a faction that
Mm-hmm.
somebody was growing up in a faction that didn't necessarily win or was an area that was just destroyed by war, something like that. We see them in Gundam grow up and take center stage.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't get that with the Decepticon in this. We didn't, we did with Ironhide for the Autobots, but
Yeah.
we really didn't get that with the Decepticons. And at least for the very beginning of Energon, the Decepticons very much took a back seat. But I feel like they should sort of almost be equal, with everything.
Oh yeah, no, definitely a good point there. Rob, do you have any thoughts?
Oh yeah, definitely. So first of all, you asked about when we saw that happening. Well, you see it briefly at the end of the OG movie because
Mm-hmm.
you've had a common foe now. It's Unicron, right? Unicron was the great thing that brought Transformers together, and why? Because they wanted to protect Cybertron, right? And there's a point in the movie, the original movie, where Unicron's like, I tried playing nice, which he never really did, but now I'm going to destroy Cybertron. Like, I think Galvatron tries to turn on him. And at that point, um, even Galvatron's like open to like working with Hot Rod at that point. And then,
Yeah.
of course, Unicron still has control of Galvatron and forces him to attack Hot Rod. But you see where they're basically like they're aligned on the point of like we need to save Cybertron. Now this is something that made me a little bit like maybe like not upset. I'm not going to get upset over a cartoon, but like there, Megatron's motivation he's always loved Cybertron. I mean, but now all of a sudden he's trying to destroy Cybertron or feed Cybertron the Unicron when he's trying to take control of him. So that kind of was a little out of character. So it's like, really, what is Megatron fighting for? Although you see he wants this, I guess, this power over everything, the
Mm-hmm.
universe. So that kind of trumps, this desire to save Cybertron. But then going into what you said, so you guys were talking about, was there a character who was sort of waffling? I do like Scorponok as a character. He has an actual arch, whereas other characters like they just Demolisher seem to have like a kind of a conflict. But as soon as he gets reprogrammed or whatever, like falling, like everybody else. But Starscream had a tiny bit of an arch in the beginning until they destroyed him. All the work that they had done in Armada, which I'd say that was the good thing that came out of that. I think we both took from Armada, or all of us took, was that Starscream's transformation throughout. And then, there's even a point where Megatron's fighting with him inside this void, right? Like trying to get control. He's totally forgotten Megatron, and he doesn't even know Megatron's name. He's like, "Who's Megatron?" Right?
Mm-hmm.
And Megatron's like trying to remind him inside this like trippy void and fighting him with his head and his fists and stuff like that. And eventually Starscream's just like, okay, I got it. I follow Megatron. And then after that, he's completely like all about Megatron, right? And he doesn't question his loyalty. He never, after that point, Starscream never questions who he's aligned with after that, and that's kind of disappointing. But I think there isn't a character that at some point they just, all the Decepticons start, their one goal is to serve Megatron, and they don't even question until way near the end when Ironhide is trying to get into his head, Scorponok's head. But otherwise, nobody really questions. Even when they're tied to Unicron or giant Mega Evolution Unicron or Megatron, Galvatron, whatever he is at that point, they're starting to be like, hey, maybe we should Megatron doesn't anymore. That's when Bowser and Snowcat start questioning a little bit their life. Like, is this really worth it? But yeah, I think that the more of the there's a few as far as arches go, like definitely like there's not much going on with the Decepticons, which is kind of disappointing.
And I'm glad that I'm sorry, you were about to say something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to. There is a sort of in-universe explanation for that, and that is at least with Starscream. Before I do this, are we doing spoilers?
Yeah. We'll go ahead and do spoilers. Yeah.
Okay. With Starscream, after the whole trippy void thing, Megatron straight up erased his memories.
Yeah.
So
I do remember that. Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. He's blindly following Megatron, but at that point, I don't really think you can. Is it the same character? Yes. But functionally, no. Because that's been like a hard reset on Starscream. He doesn't remember all the events that led up to him having the growth that he did in Armada. And I think to kind of further explain that, and this is the reason I asked about the spoiler thing, is with what happened with Inferno. Because like Megatron was outright reprogramming him to be a Decepticon.
I forgot about that that bit with Inferno. Oh my god!
We're also forgetting.
Yeah,
we're also forgetting Six Shot as well. Who? So now that I talk about it, there were some good Decepticon pieces if you count Six Shot as well, because he's like the brother of Shock Blast, which is hard not to call him Shockwave, but with the exact same model. There you go. We got a clone there. They're exact same modeling, different colors, but they're brothers, so that's how they kind of explain it. And he is actually lied to. Somebody tells him, of course, Optimus destroyed Shock Blast, but I don't recall that really being what happened. I think something landed on him, or like Unicron, or
definitely it was part of the part. Something was crushed. He was crushed by a falling tower that was strongly implied, very strongly implied, to be caused by Megatron.
Oh
yeah, exactly. And then so Demolisher immediately tells him
tells
or Snowcat.
He tells Six Shot, oh, Optimus did it.
Right. So he kind of like stops at some point. He's like, well, I gotta join the Decepticons, but then at some point he just starts realizing that the Decepticons are not a great group either, and so he just kind of does everything to sabotage them that he can. So it's not like a clear moment. Well, it could be when he gets punched in the face by Megatron / Galvatron, but he's not trying his hardest to help the Decepticons.
I would say like it is funny because we have I forgot what, because Tidal Wave ended up changing his name too. He ended up becoming Mirage, right?
Yeah.
Mirage or Barrage?
Mirage.
Okay.
which is
Yeah,
stolen name from the Autobots.
I was a little just like, hey, you stole that name from somebody else. But like with Mirage, Demolisher, and Snowcat or Snowcap.
Cat.
No one
Okay.
knows. I think it was. It did sound like Cap in the beginning. He calls him Snow. Megatron calls him Snow Cone at some point, which is pretty
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
So he
But
did get some jabs in there, but yeah, I think it's Cat with a T.
okay. I was just gonna say like it's funny because it's like those three being the OG Decepticon characters in this in this series, right? How they sort of know when Galvatron Megatron like is about to have like his hissy fit, and like they know their place like well enough to like not get smacked around or get yelled at. And so like whenever Six Shot or Starscreens like they're trying to do too much, they're like, "Hey man, it's like you don't know what you're doing. Just chill out." And then it's like Galvatron has this hissy fit, and they're like, "Yeah, man, we told you." It's like it's funny. They know like how toxic he can be, and yet they'll still work with him despite not having to deal with that sort of poor mismanagement on the Autobot side, right? Like it's just wild, like how comfortable they were, just falling back into that routine.
I kind of viewed that as, I'm just gonna, I'm just gonna say this one little thing, let you get back to it. But I kind of viewed that as, when he reformatted them, when Megatron reformatted them, I felt like just because of what happened with Inferno and Starscream, I think it wasn't exactly outright said or anything, but I could see where he messed with their programming like he did everybody else's when he reformatted them.
It's interesting that you bring up the reformatting, because that was going to be a point that I was going to jump into, was that, and I guess it's nitpicky, I guess, but I mean we've talked about it before, like people's names being changed or being rearranged and stuff like that. But like, what would justify the name change? Because Demolisher, he was reformatted, but his name was the same, and we would have people like their colors change, like they're the same. It's like, okay, like what was the Jetfire, Ironhide, like they quote unquote reformatted, but their names were the same. So I guess my question was, it's like, why change the names on some but not on all that had changed colors or changed body type? I guess like maybe just because of like the toy lines.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They had extra toy that they wanted to call Roadblock, and they're like,
Yeah.
how do we fit this in? We don't have any more characters in the series or in the script, so let's just rename Inferno. Maybe they had planned that all along, but it's just an easy way to add another toy to the toy line. Yeah,
Which is really kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, just like in Armada, when Starscream turns blue and he says, "I look like Thundercracker," and it's like, yeah, you are Thundercracker now, like essentially, but we're gonna keep calling you Starscream because it doesn't make sense to change your name right now, so because you're an important character. So, yeah, like Inferno was, I think, peripheral enough that they could just go ahead and it's nice how it's kind of like for the whole pronoun controversy. It's like, call me, whatever, Tammy, and in class, and like, and it's like, you're gonna call me Roadblock now, and everybody just calls him Roadblock, and so there's no arguments. And same thing with Megatron. Every second series in a row, he turns to Galvatron, which I'm not complaining about because I love Galvatron. I actually like him probably even a little bit more, in the original series than Megatron, but he he's like, I'm Galvatron now, it's official, and everybody's like, okay. And there's maybe a couple slip ups where people call it Megatron again, but I mean, if you just changed your name, that's going to happen every 5 minutes. Someone's going to call, I'm sorry, I know you changed your name, but
and then he'll just like beat your face in like he did with Six Shot. It's like, my name's Galvatron. Oh
He
my
always
goodness.
renames himself too. I mean, at least in the original movie, it's Unicron that renames him. So, but he's like, nope, I got a new name now. I'm stronger.
Oh, I would
Well,
say, yeah. Yeah,
what's
you.
confusing to confuse it even further is they had in Armada and Unicron, and I don't remember if Cybertron did this or not.
Mhm.
They had little comics that came with the toys. In the toy line continuity, because that's what the comics are called,
Right.
Roadblock is a completely separate character than Inferno.
Oh
Right.
man.
So
Exactly.
it,
Yeah.
they're completely separate.
Exactly. They had
It,
to get him in. They had to get the toy into Energon somehow, and that was their way of doing it, right? Like it's in the comic books, you can, you got pages and just throw them in there, draw them in there, create a new, create another issue or whatever. But they had to work with the script that they had, I guess. So
it,
it was
it, it,
clear, yeah.
it it's funny. It sort of reminds me of the filler episode that they had where everybody was fighting. It was that tournament, right? Where like everybody was fighting everybody. It's like you have both tidal waves, and you had like both infernos or
Yes.
roadblocks. It's just like, okay, this doesn't make sense, but they
Yeah,
don't. They're fine
Optimus
about
is
it.
in there twice.
Yes.
He's in there when he combines with Omega Supreme, and he's also in there with his Prime drones.
So,
Oh,
so we
bro.
should talk about those two episodes because we
Yeah.
didn't do my 3x3 because it was lost into time and space, and cyberspace. But basically, I had introduced myself as someone that likes the slice of life type of
Hmm.
anime, right? Like I
Yeah.
like I started naming all these, and it was just like radio silence on the other end. But one I did was like a Gretsuko, but
There was
but
no radio
you know
science on Gretzko.
no, definitely not on her. Like
Yes.
people knew that, but like there's one called High Score Girl and things I was naming, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but I Spirited Away was my favorite, one of my favorite anime movies, and it's a little bit quieter, deeper type of movie. But there are like slice of life. There were a lot more slice of life moments in the first one, I thought, where
Yeah.
you're exploring the kids and their relationships. Although we didn't see their parents a lot until the until the end, and then
Like,
you're
hey,
like, I can
Dad,
see
I
what.
need to go off into space.
Right.
Oh, hi, son. This is my first time showing up in the show, but yeah, you could totally go off in space. It's like, okay,
Right.
cool. See you never.
Yeah, Rad's deadbeat dad that he's like, yeah, I don't want to lose my kid at 12, but you gotta do what you gotta do. So and then but in the second series, Energon, we had some slice of life episodes which were kind of funny, which were like it was like inside a video game, which was a
Hmm.
complete departure from, I was having that feeling at that point, like we need some downtime, right? Like I was like, it's just pew 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 like constantly,
Yep.
like a Michael Bay movie, and that was kind of a rest, even though there was a lot of fighting in that one as well.
Hmm.
But that was a pretty funny episode. That and the race. There were a lot of action in
Yeah, I
the ones that
forgot
were
about
kind
the
of small.
race.
Yeah,
Now that you
yeah,
mentioned it, the race was pretty good.
yeah. So yeah, you could see people having fun. Like, what would you be doing if you didn't have to fight this death battle all the time? And it was kind of nice.
The Armada series with the mini cons, whenever they linked up where they combined with their respective transformer, they get a sort of unlocked upgrade, whether it's just like a cannon that's on the top of your shoulder, or you get a new sword or something else like that. And I would say in this series, it seemed like they started out with the intention of trying to use the Energon stars to unlock the different secret compartments and weapons that they may have, as far as storylines go. But then very early on, it seemed like they just forgoed that and went the combining route. Because in some of the earlier episodes, we get to see, I think it was either Ironhide or Hotshot, like when they had the Energar star, they would get like an Energon's type weapon, like it was like an axe or a hammer, um and like they were able to like throw it to the other Autobots, like Optimus was able to pick it up, right? So like it showed that flexibility, because usually with the mini cons, it's like when you link up with them, like it's only for you. You can't like swap back and forth with somebody else. And like I said, like it seemed like they forgoed that and went with the combining route. I guess like as far as like a story, well, looking back on it, like it seems like it was like a toy driven thing. Um, Ellis, did you mentioned that you had some of the toys from Energon, correct?
No, yeah, I had a
Okay.
few.
So then, like, am I correct in my assertion? Like, seeing like that the Energon stars is like it works similar to the minicons, or am I incorrect?
Kind of incorrect. They
Okay.
didn't really unlock anything.
Yeah.
They were used as like a supercharger, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Hmm.
Like they increased the stats. They
Okay.
didn't
Yeah.
they didn't do anything new, but they increased the stats. The and like the Energon stars in the toy line came with the Terracons and the Omnicons.
Oh,
Uh
so like you would have to, they forced you to buy different
yeah,
sets so that you can, it's like, oh, I want the Optimus with the Energon star. And it's like, oh, you got to buy this other Terracon or Omnicon so you can get an Energon star.
right. But the cool thing about that is the toys came with all the Energon. They came with like the Energon constructs. So like the Sky
Hmm.
Blast came with the spear that everybody got.
Oh,
Like
okay.
the strong arms came with the battle axe.
Hmm.
The battle ravages came with a mace and a cannon. RC came with all these extra motorcycle parts that were made out of Energon that became a bow.
Oh,
So
okay.
it was like the cruel locks, which the cruel locks, which were my personal favorite out of the bunch. They had energon parts for them became like a buster sword. So
Remind me who the Grolocks are. Were those
the
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 dinosaur
dinosaur the
looking
rap
ones? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Which fun fact, they were directly modeled after the baby Godzillas from Godzilla '98. But
Ooh, really? Okay.
yeah, they were
I thought they were directly modeled after Jurassic Park because they had like even had humans hiding from them at some point, in the kitchen. And
Oh
oh yeah,
yeah, that's right.
they which the funny part about that is the baby Godzilla scene from Godzilla '98 was directly inspired by Jurassic Park because the people who wrote Godzilla '98 wrote the screenplay for Jurassic Park. They so they
Uh,
so they integrate it was they integrated that. They wanted the baby Godzillas to be a raptor scene. So it yeah, it's all connected.
I forget.
But
There's a
all the
word for
same
that,
writers.
because there's like it was like two layers of references. It's like I reference this one thing. It's like, well, technically the thing you're referencing referenced another thing, right? Like there's a
right.
word for that, but that's
It's an
pretty cool.
Inception reference,
Yeah.
which references everything.
But yeah, they the Krolocks are definitely my favorite. They were baby Godzillas.
Hmm.
And uh they had like so anyway, to circle back to what my original point was,
Hmm.
they came with the constructs, like
Yeah, like the
uh the
maces.
the maces, the
Hmm.
spears, the battle axes, the swords, the bows, they all came with that kind of stuff. So there was added play to that,
Hmm.
and the fact that they let you plug the constructs into the minicon ports that they for some reason left on the figures and brought onto the Energon figures anyway. But
Hmm.
I guess it was because it was an easy way to quick connect the Energon constructs to it. But yeah, that's kind of what they did there. Um,
Okay.
yeah, they added, it did add playability. We'll put it that way. But it didn't unlock anything on like everything that would be added to, like, for example, if you had Inferno, and I'm saying that because I have his toy.
You
If you
has
have
his toy.
Inferno, I has it. If you have Inferno and you put the Energon Star on, because it just goes over their faction badge, it doesn't do anything. But then you have all the ports to plug in the construct weapons too.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty cool. I would say, one thing I was going to ask is because in the show, and I think like it may be doing too much if you're doing it in the toy line, but it would be a little cool because in the show, the Energon stars are clearly different depending on which faction you're in, and I wasn't sure if like on the toy lines, like you can get an Autobot star, excuse me, and put it on a Decepticon, or if they had different attachments where it wouldn't allow you to do that.
No, that was actually really cool because in a lot of ways the Energon constructs and the stars could be attached to either. It didn't
Okay,
matter
yeah.
what it was the same shape of connectors. But the
Mm-hmm.
cool part about that is you could blend the different Energon parts together and make up your own sort of combinations of
Oh,
Energon
okay.
constructs. Like one of my favorite things to do when I was a kid, when this toy line was coming out, is I had the dive bomb Terracon, the hawk,
Okay,
and
yeah.
I'd take his boomerang, and you could split it into twin swords, but they also had connectors on the bases. So what I would do is I would take that, and I would take the spear from Skyblast,
Mm-hmm.
take the spearhead off Skyblack's, plug the two boomerang halves in, and I would have like a double scythe kind of weapon.
Oh,
So
okay.
Became Darth Maul.
you could blend the more like Gundam Death Scythe, but you could blend the Energon pieces together. It was limited, but you could still do it.
Yeah, it was like that little bit of customization that allowed creativity on the owner. That's pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Um and
Oh,
yeah.
another thing. You know how like in the show everybody had their combiner partner?
Mm-hmm.
You could it wasn't limited to that. You could swap people around and combine in different ways as long as they were the same like size class for the toy. You could scramble them up. It didn't matter who you had. You could combine with pretty much anybody.
So
Yeah, it seemed like in the
yeah.
cartoon too that they were just randomly choosing partners there at the end. They're like, "Hey, now me, Ironhide, and whoever Demolisher." Or actually, it was funny when Demolisher tried to combine with
Yes, a
Snowcat.
And they were just sitting on the shoulders. Yeah, that was hilarious.
In post, it was learned that we did not give a synopsis for the Cybertron series. It was probably because of how excited we were to be at our journey's end. We just wanted to get things done. And to help you understand what we're talking about, the synopsis is as follows. It's the far future for Energon, the star that was made through Unicron's dead body. It collapsed on itself and became a gigantic black hole that was threatening to devour everything in the universe. All the Cybertronians don't know what to do, and Vector Prime is a new transformer that runs across the Autobots, and he tells them about the Cyberplanet keys along with the Omega Lock, which are old Cybertronian artifacts that could be used to resolve the issue with the black hole. So essentially, we are journeying with the Autobots and Vector Prime in order to find these artifacts in a race against time with the black hole from devouring more planets, along with the Decepticons, which are trying to find the same artifacts with the sole sake of increasing their power. And it should also be noted that in this iteration, even though the humans or the Cybertronians had a good history, it's essentially reset in this series, which brings a lot of points of discussion that's going to continue on in our podcast.
Now recording.
There you are. All right. So now we're
Master
getting
Chief.
we're getting
Robot overlords, is that you?
I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna switch over the background to our Cybertron, and just want to thank you too, Ellis and Rob, for coming not once, not twice, but a whopping 3 times in succession in order to talk about this beloved I'm sorry, I couldn't finish that sentence without laughing, but this beloved trilogy in Transformers known as the Cybertron trilogy. And again, I want to thank you guys for being as gracious as you have, because there were technical difficulties, and even at the end of the last recording there were some technical difficulties as well. But this time around, made sure hard drive is clear, left enough space for everything that needs to be on here for the recording. I've got a backup recording here too. Greg is in the chat, so now he's recording our audio, so making sure that nothing is lost this time around. And again, just
Gonna be our worst
yes.
episode ever, probably. Is that what you're saying?
Say it again.
It's probably gonna be our worst episode ever because you're gonna capture all of it.
All right.
That one could have been lost to time and space.
But before we go, like, I do have like some notes from the both of you from the last time that we spoke, but I wanted to open up the floor a little bit to you guys before we get into that. If you guys like had anything to say before we get into like the nitty gritty of like Cybertron and the rest of the series.
Yeah, I was like, "Are we sure this is a trilogy?" Like when I started, I was like, it seemed like a different thing, a
It
little
was a
bit
trilogy in the
entirely.
making, right?
I, wa- I had to read it wasn't until after I read the wiki and I realized
Mhm.
that that was the plan, and then whoever the producers writers just decided to go rogue because I was very confused in the beginning. I was like, am I watching the right series? Like, am I like, is this the same thing? So
Mhm.
I checked at least twice to make sure. We agreed to watch Cybertron, right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah, that was the only thing in the beginning that I was very paranoid that I was going to get 50 episodes in and realize I was watching the wrong series. So I double checked numerous times, but I'm
No,
pretty sure
it
I
does
watched the
give
right
that vibe.
series. Yeah.
Yeah, it does give that vibe. I always wonder a little bit if
Mhm.
like the teams for the different series had anything to do with each other, because at one point Prime's like, "What? Two Autobots combining? That's never been done before. That's unheard of." I'm like, "You've done it in the past two series with with a half dozen different characters."
Yeah, you're very promiscuous with the combining in the last
Yes.
series, and now it's like, oh,
It's like,
combining.
combining's
So
never been heard of before. That was the
right,
whole gimmick in the last series.
right.
You combined with as many people as Steven did in his Steven Universe series. What are you talking about? Oh,
Energon is polyamorous propaganda confirmed.
exactly, exactly. One love. What's the phrase? Is like until all are one. That's what it is.
Right. They're gonna be a massive combiner at the end. Like, I didn't know we could do this. All 800 of us, including Decepticons, and
This is a Digimon crosswords. That's not supposed to happen.
Exactly, exactly. Oh man. But
yeah, there were some little inconsistencies at the beginning. Like, you guys
yes.
remember? I remember you guys were like, or at least Intro was struggling with the consistency at the beginning of the last one, and I was like, no, it makes perfect sense. It's 10 years later. These are the same kids, whatever. They're a little bigger. This one, they're like a space boy and a human boy in Earth in space for the first time. I'm like, what? I mean, have the memories of the other ones already been erased from history? Like, was it like, did the CIA go in and be like, no, this didn't happen, and
Yeah,
erased everybody's memories?
so going into this, and this was a hypothesis that Ellis had brought up on some of the other podcasts, where the hypothesis is that Unicron is a single, like there's only one Unicron across all time and space and dimensions, right? Whereas if you go into different iterations of the Transformers series, that the Unicron that shows up is like the same one from like everywhere else, right? And because of the inconsistency that was going on in all of the other continuities of the franchises, I sort of went in with this lens because, much to your point, Rob, because like everybody is acting super new, even though this is supposed to be in the future of Energon, right? So they being the humans should already know that Transformers exist, and Transformers should already like be working with the humans, this, that, and the third, and everybody's acting completely brand new. So in order to reconcile that, I had to make up my own headcanon. It's like, okay, this is just a loosely quote unquote alternative reality where the same Unicron that died and became a son in the last series is still out here doing stuff. It just happened to turn into a black hole over here. But that's sort of what I use to reconcile things. But before we go
Yeah, they
on, yeah,
couldn't.
I'm sorry, you were going to say,
Yeah,
Rob?
I was trying to think.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was trying to think of could they have just tried a little harder to reconcile it? But when you think about it, they needed the whatever the arc or whatever, not they needed the ship that the Atlantis
Yes.
to have crashed and have not been heard from since, right? And so if
Hmm.
they had been to Earth, they would have heard about it. They would have known about the hidden or the Transformers that were living on Earth and the ones that were kind of hiding themselves. So they would have known it. So I'm thinking, okay, that would have probably screwed that whole aspect of the story of the four ships. So,
Hmm.
but yeah, I couldn't figure out a way to reconcile it. That's probably why they did what they did.
Okay. Ellis, do you have any thoughts on the continuity, or
I have
yeah?
my own personal headcanon in
Okay.
that um, over time after Unicron became the sun,
Mhm.
over time the Cybertronians decided, you know what, humanity kind of sucks, so they just dipped. And humanity it's been enough time that humanity's blasted themselves back to the Stone Age and restarted, and then the Transformers go, you know what? We're gonna reintroduce ourselves and see if it goes better this time.
Okay, so
Well,
you're
that doesn't
thinking, yeah.
No, go ahead.
No,
That's
no,
why nobody knows anybody, and it's because it's been way too long.
nobody knows anybody, but hold on, because Rob, were you able to finish the entire series, or
Oh yeah, I
okay,
did. I
okay,
did all
okay.
every
So
last,
then,
even the credits at the end. So where they actually gave Carlos and Rad and Alexis like 2 seconds of FaceTime. So, but
I missed that. I did not see that. The last
oh
that I
yes, you have to
saw,
watch the.
yeah.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, no, I was just saying, like, the last that I saw, it was sort of like the tie, the bow at the end, and like everybody was sort of standing in front of the earth, where it's just like Transformers, like that sort of thing. Like that was what that image is what I remember being the end. I don't remember being like a after credit with like Carlos and Rad, because I thought
Yeah,
like it
and
was
I
so
think if
far in the
I
future they were already dead.
Yeah, so that's why I said that kind of
Mhm.
spoiled his head canon a little bit, but
Mhm.
that doesn't mean those pictures were taken, because they're like still shots. They're almost like, from at the end of The Hangover, you're just going through someone's phone. And so maybe there were some shots of who is this these people who are now grown up. Carlos has a magnificent head of hair in that cameo, by the way. I don't know if this is really spoiling it.
Mhm.
We're like literally skipping to the last
It's
10
it's
seconds
it's
of the
it's it's
entire
it's
series.
okay. It's okay. I'll put some disclaimers for spoilers earlier on. But you were
Yeah,
saying,
Spoiler
yeah.
alert: Carlos gains human form.
He had eyeballs, by the way.
he has eyeballs. He has perfect
There-
luscious hair. Oh, one other
yes.
thing too about, well, not necessarily Carlos, but like Hispanics in general in
Mm,
Cybertron. I would say that they were probably represented a little bit better because
mm-hmm.
what was her name? Um,
Lori.
is it Coral?
Hello? Lori. Lori.
Lori. Yeah,
Lori
no,
is,
because
yeah.
Lori is Hispanic. I don't know if she's like Mexican or anything else like that, but like you have like those subtle nuances where her father would give her like a pet Spanish name, and when her mother made them food, it was a particular Spanish dish that her mother made, right? So it was nuanced in that regard, whereas like, you know, like they said it was subtle, it wasn't in your face like Carlos's accent, which it's not necessarily completely bad, it could have been done better, but I mean it was a product of its time. It's like, okay, cool, we got a Latino here, that's nice, right? But I would say like with Lori and how they presented her heritage, it was subtle, and it was well done. I mean, like they could have done a little bit more, but like for what they did, it was good. So everybody was treated like people this time around.
Like in real life, even though they're cartoons. But yeah, no, I didn't know she was Hispanic until there was the scene where they actually meet the parents, and I think her dad's name was like Emilio or something really Hispanic.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, so she must be Hispanic. And then later, like I said, I looked at Wiki, and her last name is Jimenez, so that pretty much sealed the deal. But yeah, no, I think that was, that was good without, like you said, they didn't like force that in there, but it was, yeah, she was Hispanic. And then they also had good representation from the little boy that was rescued in the river. I forget who rescued, evac, right? Rescued him. He was a African American, so they had, said some diversity in there in the children there. So.
I'm not sure that means anything, Mike. I have a first cousin whose name is Jimenez, and she's lily white.
That's true.
Hey man, it's just showing how wide a variety the Hispanic culture is, bro. we come in various shades.
Now she married into it. That might have something to do with it.
Okay, there you go. All right.
To, I guess, like lightly touch a little bit on like comparing Cybertron to some of the other series, or at least like to set up like some of the thoughts like that we had from the other series, like going into this. We can, because like I have here, Rob, like when we were talking about like Armada and Energon, you mentioned that like Armada was good, it had a lot of good slice of life vibes, and that Energon felt like it might have had a little bit too much going on. You weren't necessarily vibing with the fact that there wasn't a lot of hand-drawn animation in Energon. And and with that, like you like did you okay, and so like with those two things, because I know like Ellis had mentioned before that like Cybertron was like the best of both worlds. So you know, it was like with Armada having like the slice of life and Energon having all the CG animation, how did you feel that what Cybertron did? Do you think Cybertron was a good meshing of those two, or they were completely off the mark?
Yeah, I really liked the animation in this one. Like, I actually thought it was a nice blend. So I said that, made notes a few times. Like, I mean, I was a big fan of Optimus Prime's lips. Those were those were kind of distracting. But other than that, I loved the blend because it made perfect sense, right? Like the robots are CG, everything else is hand drawn, and it actually looked really beautiful, especially when you had like explosion effects that were hand drawn, even those on top of the CG. And the CG is subtle. Like, I mean, when I was watching the trailers and stuff, it looked really jarring, like, wow, that's obviously a different form of art. But after a while you sort of get used to it, and it kind of blends in. It's more like a 3D type of effect. So I really did like the art of this, and I thought they also leaned more into the anime thing, right? Like, had some anime conventions, like the mad little X that was on Lori's head a few times, and sort of some anime expressions, and like, on the robots as well. So like the little they had a little sweat on one of the robots, and they were just doing some of the anime conventions a little bit more. So yeah, I thought it was really nice, and the design of everything was very, very nice. So I can't really complain about that.
Awesome.
Except that a lot of the characters don't look anything like their G1. counterparts, but other than that, I can't really.
It can't be perfect, right?
Except
Like
for
you can be good enough, but you can't be perfect. And
Soundwave was perfect. I'll give Soundwave 100%
really?
props, but everybody else, yeah,
Okay.
everybody. Well, for that
Yeah.
moment, for that one moment, he was perfect, and then they went another direction.
Okay, because now that you bring it up, because I remember I wanted to address this to Ellis, uh because I remember him mentioning that his no Ellis, correct me if I'm wrong, but you said that your favorite iteration of Soundwave was in Transformers Prime, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, so then what did you think about Soundwave in Cybertron?
Well, so the Soundwave in Cybertron was, really my first. See, I saw Cybertron before I saw G1.
Okay.
So, you know, Soundwave in Cybertron was really my quote unquote first Soundwave.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I really didn't have much of a comparison until like I've read the IDW G1 comics and I've seen Soundwave in other media. And so I thought and still do, it's a really good representation of Soundwave. Um
Really?
I know
How so?
I like it. I do like it because he still had a lot of the same vibes as Soundwave, but he came from a place where he wasn't aligned with the Decepticons at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked it. He was my first kind of foray into Soundwave. I think IDW Soundwave is probably my favorite besides Prime. But yeah, this is pretty decent. It's not the Soundwave that most people are used to, and I understand that, but I'm kind of looking at it through this was my first Soundwave.
Oh, okay. Whereas
Yeah,
like
I
you can't hate him because he was your first.
Correct. But it is a departure from the others in terms of motivation and goals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Rob, you were about to say something?
Yeah, so I thought he was like a mashup between so my first Soundwave was the first sound like the G1, unless there was one before that that I don't know about. So maybe there was an Atari version. We were talking about Atari earlier, but or a 70s version. But he was to me he was like a mashup of the original Soundwave and Blaster, who was like the I guess was the Autobot counterpart. Blaster was like he would talk in rhymes. He'd be like he would say things related to music and
Mm-hmm.
like everything was like a pun. And so I thought that he was kind of like that, in that he I think I read on Wiki he's like an 80s DJ. He was sort of given that kind of vibe where he was talking about just everything he talked about was in terms of something musical or whatever. So I thought they kind of tried to blend those personalities together. I think they did a good job. And I like, of course, he at least had stuff coming out of his chest. He had laser beak, so that was made me happy. He didn't go
Laserbeak
any
switching
farther than
sides
yeah.
near the end
Yeah,
of the
Laserbeak is
trilogy.
now it's no longer a camcorder. Or it is what it should be. It's just
Mm-hmm.
some kind of recording media. But now that I mention it, so when I first saw the little cameo of him, he was actually that square, the rectangular beatbox that he was, or
Yes.
recording device that he was in G1, right? And I thought that was just a Easter egg, like, oh, there's Soundwave. So I just completely forgot about it. So I don't know if that moment he was actually taking that form and spying on, those, I guess they were Decepticons at the time, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So I didn't go back and look at that, but if he was indeed spying and had taken another form, I think that was really cool.
One thing before I forget, because just going back to what Rob had mentioned regarding the anime. So in the previous two anime series, it was Studio Actus who was doing the animation. and even for like the CG animation. But for this one, it was Studio Gonzo, which is why the CG is completely different. And I can't remember if it was on the wiki or if it was some of the reviews, but like despite the animation being really good, a lot of people had commented that a lot of the transformation sequences were essentially just reused, more, in just a pad for time. And I just want to ask you both, that we can start out with Ellis. Was was this something that you noticed where they were just trying to pad for time, or like filler, like with repeated sequences or anything else like that, or something that you realized that they could have done better, that was done better in the previous series?
Well, the Unicron trilogy as a whole, well, maybe not as a whole. I didn't find it too bad with Armada, but definitely
Mm-hmm.
Energon and Cybertron. Um, they had a lot of stock footage, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I understand why, because at the time, CGI was just on the cusp, but it was more expensive than it is now and all that kind of fun things. But yeah, they mentioned they had, in my opinion, a lot of stock footage, especially like with the attacks and the transformations and stuff like that. So I feel like, I don't know if they were trying to pad for time, but they were definitely reusing a lot of resources that they had already made.
Hmm.
I do understand that perspective. That being said, my feelings on stock footage is skewed by the fact that I'm a Gundam fan and I've seen Gundam Seed Destiny. So um, the amount of,
the
anything that's not to that level, I think is okay.
your level of tolerance. You're
The
like,
stock footage is pretty high.
like, this doesn't bother me. It's like, this is baby weight. What are we talking about?
No,
Yeah.
I remember one episode of Gundam Seed Destiny, and I looked over at the person watching it with me,
Mhm.
and I went, "This episode was like a third stock footage."
I mean, when you compare, like, to me, when you compare this to like G1 series where they couldn't even draw inside the lines, get the colors right, things like that, like it was the amount of consistency in the animation was just amazing to me, and like I honestly didn't recognize too much reusing of anything. Maybe I have much lower standards from my days of 80s cartoons, but I think I don't know. What are you guys referring? Are you talking like the recap
No,
type
no,
of
no.
stuff at the beginning
So,
of the episode?
like, say, so, like, some of the stock footage, right? It would be like the scenes where it's like they're transforming, and
Oh, right, right,
yeah,
right.
or like if you look at the
Okay.
background, it's like whenever they're like
Yes.
launching from the base. And I've
Okay.
noticed it a little bit when watching it, because they even like made an inside joke in the show. It was when they were on the Beast Planet and Optimus was combining with what's his name? Lion
Leo
Leo
Breaker.
Breaker.
Leo
Breaker.
Breaker.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
combining with Leo Breaker, and they were going to fight Scourge. I think it was leading up to like that second final fight, right, where it was actually a turning point where it's like that sort of challenge. And like leading up to it, like you hear banter between Optimus and Leo Breaker, where it's just like, yeah, we need to hurry this up and get to the fight. And like as they're talking, you can tell like they're talking about the stock footage that's playing in the background. It's like, yeah, man, universe is at stake. We kind of need to get the run on, get through
Right.
this.
Well, that was like the Power Rangers. They had this show. They're like,
Yeah.
Tyrannosaurus, and like to me, that was just like that's part of the show.
Hmm.
You gotta like sit through that, and like you're like that's cool. I mean, I guess they had like faster versions of that. What got a little ridiculous, I have to always mention Power Rangers when like the second where it was like, you know, Tyrannosaurus, Dino, Fury, like it was like a dragon, red, thunder, ninja, power. Like they're adding all these things because they were like combining all the different shows, and I'm like, this is getting really long. Like, how do they? But
wasn't there a Sentai scene where like the monster of the week is just standing there watching him do all this stuff, and then flash, it pans to the monster just standing still watching it, and then he just shoots one of them.
Yeah, I would have you would have been dead. Like, can you just hurry up your stock, intro here for? I got it. It's like when in wrestling where you're just like, I've just been knocked out. You're gonna do your final move, and it's taking you 10 minutes to get to the top road, and actually signal the crowd. And you're like, dude, I'm unless I'm in a coma, nobody stays on the ground there this long. Yeah.
Before we go on, right? I have to, because I told you guys, I'm going to make sure that there's no technical difficulty this time around. So we're going to take a little break, listen from our sponsors, and then we're going to come back.
This commercial break is brought to you by Cybertron Snacks.
Cybertron Snacks. What flavor of Energon is a snack going to be made out of?
I think it'd be let's see, it'd be Earth flavored Energon. I don't know.
Flavored Energon. Okay.
We have Optimus Orange and Megatron Mango.
Ooh, yummy. That actually sounds pretty good. I might have to go and grab a box. So just bear with us.
Hot shot habanero.
Hot shot habanero. Yes.
Wow, that does sound hot.
I love it.
I work for the government. It's a matter of public record.
Everybody knows who won that dinner theater award that night. That was all over. That's all over the internet.
To be fair, we have introduced Ellis as an automail mechanic on the podcast before, much like me. So it's just
but not as an award-winning thespian.
We've even made mention of me being a dog of the military before.
You just outed him as a thespian.
Now recording.
There we go. We got Craig back in the chat.
Thank you, Soundwave. Thank you, Soundwave. Auto recording superior. Human recording inferior.
Back in my thespian school days,
we're gonna
robots
be
spoke like
inappropriately
this.
more wound up now. The audience has no idea what just happened. Just what happened? Did they literally do crack on the commercial?
No, I don't think that they heard your crack comment before I called off. So now they're even more confused.
We did Energon, people. I had an Energon drink.
Fresh off my bi-monthly role as Smite and Bob, Paladin-elect of the Order of the Prophetic Sandwich.
Oh my goodness!
Oh boy, I think we're ready.
Yeah, so if we can bring it back to the subject matter and not talk about the government and a possible substance abuse problem with thespian schools. So Jetfire's Australian, and what's his name? The British guy. He's now British. All of a sudden.
Yeah. What's his name? Red Alert.
Red Alert. Yes.
Oh, and I didn't realize until I read the wiki that I guess his name's Mudflap, or without the crane guy that turns sides and comes back. He's had a French accent, but I didn't really notice that. So.
Yeah, I knew he has some sort of accent, but I couldn't tell if it was French. But it was just these are pre-established characters, and then you just give them these accents. And I remember watching Cybertron when I was younger, with Jetfire, because that was my first exposure to Jetfire. So it was okay, I guess he's Australian, because Space Australia from Dragon Ball Z, right? It's it makes sense. And then again, it's just the whole continuity thing, and it's just oh my goodness, he's an established character, and you're just now giving him an Australian. Why?
Well, to be fair, though, also his entire model changed, right? He's another color, he's another type of plane, and so a lot of things did change between the two. Like something got seriously warped when that black hole opened up, I think. So we'll just blame it on that. Blame it on the
Reformatting is a
black hole.
time-honored religious experience for Transformers.
Oh no! Don't bring up this again, because I've had issues in the previous series where it's like reform. Like it's so hard to tell in the series, and this series didn't do any better about it. Like in regards to reformatting, because it's just like, okay, you just color coded, and I think it was it's my favorite duo, and I can't remember the name. Ransack and Crumplezone. I love those guys. Yeah. We're gonna come back to it, but Crumplezone is a perfect example of this, because like his quote unquote reformatting was just him changing colors, and then there was another there was another Cybertronian that had reformatted. I want to say it was Megatron. It might have been somebody else, but like,
the Leo Breaker was like another guy.
Okay, so like,
Hall.
Yeah.
He was strong. He was the Jeep.
Strong. Yeah. There was a lot of reformatting.
What was his name?
All the army ones.
Strong Arm. Was it?
No,
was
Leo
it Strong
Breaker.
Arm? No. What was it?
Von Hall. Hall something.
I'm looking it up.
It wasn't like Cliff Jumper or something. It wasn't Ironhide, but he was
Overhaul.
Yeah, overhaul.
Yeah, some kind of haul. I knew it was some kind of haul.
Yeah. Okay, so then
there's overhaul, there's override, there's overdrive, or over everything.
Yeah.
I thought overhaul wasn't overhaul in Energon, where overhaul was essentially just like the add-on for like the guns, or was that another Cybertronian that had an O?
Are you thinking Overload from Armada?
Okay, that's what I'm thinking. I thought it was Overload.
It's the big red transformer that becomes giant shoulder cannons for Optimus.
Yep, I thought it was Overload, but
that's Overload.
Yeah. I thought that they had used somebody's name again, but I would say like with Overhaul into Leo Breaker is like, okay, that's a reformatting. That makes sense why he would want to change his name, right? Because it's a completely different form, and I would say too, more or less like a theme and growth for the character, so it sort of made sense. Well, yeah, it made sense more than most. It's like, okay, I can respect that. But then we get Crumplezone, where he goes from like green to blue to like purple and green, and it's just like, I mean, granted, his name it stays the same, which is fine, but then like you have Megatron, where he was like blue, no, he was black and purple. He just becomes silver. He's like, I am now Galvatron, and say that again.
Well, I was waiting for Galvatron to show up, because I was like, are they not going to do the Megatron Galvatron switch this series? Like that would really break my heart. Yeah, because I love Galvatron as a character from the original. So, and then they finally did it, and I was like, okay, good, all right, that makes my series a little better.
Now, my favorite reformatting in this one, and what I think, in my opinion, the one they did the best, because I mean, yes, Overhaul to Leo Breaker got told in flashbacks, and that's cool. But the one that makes the most sense to me is the Cybertron defense team, Hotshot, Scattershot, and Red Alert. You know, when they get like basically fatally wounded and then reformat it.
Yeah.
But even then, like, they kept their names. So
true, they did.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone really changed their name in this one except for Leo Breaker, which is like, that was a completely different character. So everybody, maybe they took some notes from the other one, like, let's not change their names completely, because then people get totally lost. Yeah. Or if we make them look like Thundercracker, let them be Thundercracker. So.
Oh yeah, that was right, because like this was the first series, like all the other series like mentioned Thundercracker, but then this is the first time like we actually get to see him. So as fans of the OG, seeing Thundercracker, what are your thoughts on that?
I liked the Southern accent. It kind of made sense. Like like we're just doing a lot of accents in this series. I think that's what they decided. Everyone's gonna have an accent, but he looked relatively close to the original. So when he in his robot form, his wings were like down now, I guess, just to make him look a little different than Starscream. But overall, he looked almost exactly like the original, which was very cool. And he had a lot of personality. He didn't have like that kind of personality in the OG. He kind of was just like a wingman literally, but he had a lot of personality in this. And I think with his one-liners, he's like, what made your buttermilk get sour or something like that, and he's like, oh, he's got all these kind of lines.
His little southern euphemisms.
yeah and he had like a lot of special moves they were just like leaning into, like, this is my super stupendous extra finisher special. He would like do spin around, do all this kind of stuff. So I thought he was good comic relief. I didn't mind. I mean, because if you are a fan of the OG, the original, like, Skywarp and Thundercracker don't really stand out in terms of personality. So it's not like you could really do worse. Like, they were sort of like there. I know they had more personality at the beginning of the OG series, but then they kind of just became just like there. So yeah, I didn't mind it too much. The bigger issue was Starscream. He was just a little bit off throughout, because he was more incompetent, in the original, and he was a little bit too competent in a lot of places in this one. But
he was actually
like
good.
he had some competent moments. I mean, he got all those pieces of the Mega Lock and everything. But the best, literally, crowning moment was when he whipped out that crown from the original movie, and he starts wearing that, because that was complete throwback to the movie. So that was cool. There were a few cool Easter eggs like that, so I enjoyed that. So, but yeah, Thundercracker was all right.
Oh, that's
so
good. Yeah, sorry, you were about to say something, Ellis.
Oh, I was just gonna make a remark on Starscream's helmet. They just all right. So I've made mention of the Legacy toy line, where they're doing a lot of stuff from Unicron trilogy recently. And they just brought us. They just made what was last year, Starscream from Cybertron, and I got it because I mean it's an addiction at this point. But but I bought a 3D printed little crown for him to wear.
Nice.
Oh,
there is a
man.
version. I think there is a toy version that has the crown, like, and he has the cape.
It's massive too.
Yeah, he's a cape and the crown. That's like literally 30 seconds of the movie, but it's so iconic. They also, I don't know if they have a version of him after he is, like, basically annihilated by Galvatron. Like, because they made some trauma. Yeah, go ahead.
I know the Masterpiece one has the cape and the crown. But I think they just did a grayscale version that right before he crumbled into dust too.
Yeah. There's one where his little cape goes out and gets all frayed, and like they made these trauma toys. I know I saw in Target they had, or someplace, they had a version of Brawn that was like shot in the chest, right, like before he died, and I was like, oh my god, and I could barely look at it. Like, I was just like, it's still too soon. It was 1986 or whatever, but it's still too soon.
Oh, hold on. Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah. So I'm sure they do have a version of, like you said, of him, the death second moment for Starscream. But I was surprised. I was surprised no one stepped on the crown at any point, because that was very iconic as well. When Galvatron steps on the crown and just crushes it, it's like, anyone else, would like to be a leader? Or so that would have been cool. But he just kind of holds it at the end. Galvatron just got, hey, Starscream's crown. So he doesn't really, defile it.
Appreciate the
Well, I know
patience,
a lot of the Siege and War for Cybertron toy line, they come battle damaged now.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, they have a bunch that look like they're like the Ultra Magnus, for example. Like, there's cracks in his windshield. There's there's scratches and cuts all over him. It looks like he's had mud splashed up to his calves and stuff like that. Like, they've been in it. They've been through it.
Well, you know what? I was gonna bring up that point is that like ever since, and I know there were some like I know there's some cartoons where like the Transformers die. Like I watched a little bit of the Combiner Wars and it like that also traumatized me. I don't know if they come back at the end, but I know like basically like Devastator and others that I love get shot, killed instantaneously in that one. So, but um, since Optimus died and had that reaction that people had, right? They've been very careful to not really kill. I noticed in this whole entire series, they would, in the beginning, I would be like, okay, this person's dead, and then they come back right back the next episode, and you're like, oh, okay, that's how it's going to be. So I think they continued that tradition in this of not killing anyone. So I thought that actually, I think that does that does it does relieve some anxiety when you're watching because like okay, if someone's dead, they're not really dead.
It's
But
interesting too, like their take on it, because when Megatron died, he came back as a ghost, but then like that was because of like Unicron magic stuff. But the
mhm,
going back to Starscream, because at least like with Starscream, like when he died, I don't know if it was necessarily magic stuff, but it was really cool to see him him being Megatron have that mental that metaphysical conversation with Starscream that they had, because right before their final conflict, where it's just like uh Megatron was like, "Oh, never risk anything," whereas Starscream is all about like risk everything for what you want.
mhm.
Because like having like those battles of ideology, and then seeing Megatron as a victor and having to essentially talk to the ghost of his past in order to continue moving forward. That was, and like you said, like even though like we've seen like Starscream die, like he's still around in a sense, so it's not
Mhm.
like abrupt like it was in the Transformers movies, where it's like, oh no, he died in this horrible manner, we have to keep going, we
Yeah,
can't dwell on this
yeah.
now, right? Whereas in this show, it's like they, even though somebody passes away, like they still have a lasting impact on people. Like for instance, like with what happened with Clockwork Guy, I forgot what his name, Vector Prime,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
How, and that I would say that was kind of interesting too, like how they try to set up, because they were essentially like focusing on Bud, where it seems like he was just young enough to where the idea of death, he couldn't really grasp on it, and how everybody was trying to dance around it in a sense. Um, what were your thoughts on that? We could start with Ellis.
Uh, yeah. I mean, I think Vector Prime's death was the only one that I don't want to say stuck, but that
Mm-hmm.
seems to be the case. Maybe. That was one of just a couple that they were like, "Oh yeah, this person's dead, dead."
Mm-hmm.
Um, so, but it was done in a good way. I think having to show them having grips with it, with death, with him dying, with Bud is good, and I think it was done in a a realistic way. But to kind of shift a little bit, I think the
Yeah.
one that they did over the entire Unicron trilogy, I think the best death as far as lasting impact was Starscream and Armada. Like,
Mm,
I feel like
yeah.
that was the best done with how much of an impact it had on the remainder of the series.
I'm
But
having trouble remembering anything from the prior two series. I'm not sure it had the same impact on me, or maybe it's just
oh,
how fast
understand.
I've been watching these. But yeah, no,
Everything's a
refresh
blur.
us because
It's
he
important
was
to repress.
yeah. It
but
was. Yeah, I remember
mhm.
all I remember about Armada Starscream is like I think we all agreed that we liked how his arc. He had like
Yes,
an
his
actual
character
arc
was
in that.
done
Like he was
very
going back,
well in Armada.
yeah, and he
Yeah.
was working with the kids and the kids kind of like kind of like Scourge in this one, where the kids, every time the kids would say something, it kind of like affected his little, you know, like partially human heart that he had, and just kind of like, you kids speak stuff that just kind of like makes me think, and so, yeah, I think,
Dude,
did he
yeah.
sacrifice himself? Didn't he sacrifice himself or something?
He was mortally wounded by Megatron in a duel, and he was dueling Megatron, and he was like, "If I defeat you, the Decepticons are going to help the Autobots." And you know, Megatron did beat him in battle, but then Starscream used all of his power to try to blast Unicron, and Unicron blasted him. And then that act of Unicron blasting him, like, Megatron was like, "Yeah, we're gonna work together now."
Yeah,
Like, it immediately changed
Yeah.
Megatron's mind.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Yeah, he turned the tide. So, and then he forgot all about that. Well, he had the literal memory, like just
Yeah.
wash or wipe in the second one, and then he just became sort of a standard,
Decepticon
just kind of
lackey
like
almost, or
yeah.
I would say
Well, he's the
like loyalist, because he
he
didn't know any
works
better.
for himself.
Yeah.
But there's a term for that when you like kind of you just basically, he just works for himself, like he's a free agent basically. Well, he
Yeah.
in his mind he always had like he was going to switch sides, but like a shapeshifter, I guess. But so he kind of like early on he would give you smirks like, till my plan, I'll stick with this until my plan, comes to fruition. But so it wasn't like he had some deep seated reason for why he was going to turn on Megatron. He just basically was like, yeah, because I'm better, period. So
And that reminds me, not to get too much of a tangent, but the one Cybertronian. Oh no, he wasn't Cybertronian. He was from Planet X in Cybertron. The black and
Sideways.
or yes, sideways.
Sideways.
He was so annoying in the beginning. It's just like, okay, you're supposed to be this third party that's supposed to be mysterious, and we're supposed to figure out what's going on. He's like, everything's going all according to my plan, and it's like, bro, the way you're acting and the way you're moving, it doesn't seem like you have a plan. What's going on? And then, like, with the whole Planet X thing, is like, okay, that kind of makes sense, but it was just like the whole way that he was moving before. It was so frustrating, because like with him, like I felt like they could have wrote him being a free agent so much better, because like I said, like they made it seem like he was somebody else's agent trying to turn the tide in favor of somebody, rather than just trying to capitalize on who was winning at that time. Yeah, that's my mini rant on Sideways right there. I'm
You
trying
went
to
you went a little
think. Yeah.
sideways with that conversation there. I'm sorry. Actually, I thought he was the best named. He was the best named Transformer, because he's literally, you never know what side he's on. It did give you a little bit of like wondering, like I was like, okay, Sideways is back. He's not seemed to be. Is he working for Unicron again? That was his whole thing last time. So like,
Mm-hmm.
I struggled to be like, what's his motivation? Why is he? And I think they tried to just kind of like reprise it a little bit like that, but they, you were kind of confused because like without Unicron, I thought they were just all working for Unicron, but
Yeah.
they tried to give a deeper explanation, which that was something.
Well, him and Soundwave were both from Planet X, and I
Yeah.
felt like they did Soundwave a lot better in terms of like whose side is he on?
Oh
Kind of thing.
no, for sure. Like definitely when he teamed up with Soundwave, that was when he started making sense. I mean, I guess mainly because like he was with somebody else who was basically playing the same side that he was on, so then he seemed to be more consistent with his character. It was just like, without having that frame of reference, it just seemed like Sideways was erratic for the sake of being erratic, almost like hey,
Mhm.
let me do this because reasons, right? Just to see how like the mop flops, that sort of thing. Um, but
I do think
yeah.
that Sideways was a much better comic relief this time, though, because I think they also did that because they were like, well, we don't have a huge role for him, so we're just gonna make him like as funny as possible. Like when he's like chasing the kids around the ship, and when he
Mhm.
wakes up from like getting beat down one time, he's like, yeah, you really shouldn't mix your energons, like referring to like he has a hangover or something. So, and he had much
Yes.
more of a he had much more of a like, like just like a wild, like kind of like
He wasn't an
vibe
edge
about him.
lord,
Like he
just like super broody. I mean, no, no, no.
he had
Yeah.
more of that. He had more of that like he was like he was just a like as far as a person, like as far as like a kid in school, he was just like a screw up, like he was sort of
Yeah.
more like that, so and he couldn't even like contain these three children, and a couple of mini cons, so um it was ridiculous, but I think they leaned into it.
You mentioned about the comedy, and I want to go back to the perfect comedic duo known as Crumplezone and Ransack. I love them to death, and I'm glad that they were there throughout the entire series. And I love how they essentially became like a troupe with Thundercracker and what was the name of the ship? The ship lady, I forget her name.
Thunder
Thunderblast.
Thunderblast.
Yeah.
Yes. How they essentially just became like the Team Rocket stand-in, right? Where it's just like after a while they just started getting blasted away like Team Rocket, and they started making like these one-offs, and then like at the end, like Thundercracker, he like, actually turns a new leaf, and then they go and they grab him. And it's like, come on, we're going to make our own. We're making our own new Decepticons with blackjack and hookers, and he's like, no, I want it to be good.
It's like now we have to
Well,
go back to losing all the time. Oh my god.
my favorite
Yeah.
Thundercracker moment is he's sitting there and he's fighting Jetfire.
Yes.
And he's like, now for my forbidden technique, and and it has like 12 adjectives, and he just punches Jetfire in the face. Like that's the thing. He's talking about all this big great technique, and he
Yes.
just punches Jetfire in the face, and Jetfire's like, dang, that's actually a pretty good one. Like that hurt.
Yes.
That actually was a good one.
Oh my goodness! Like,
Yeah, I thought
mhm.
there was a lot of good comedy in this one, like, honestly, and also she, like, Thunder Blast, I think she's
Yeah.
kinda comic gold too, because she everything was related to being a woman. They really didn't shy away. They were with
Oh,
Overdrive, she was like the
yeah.
tough, woman, going back to Marvel,
Hmm.
Black Widow or whatever, she's like that kinda, but with
Yeah,
Thunder Blast, she's
Thunderblast.
like, "Oh, I'm the girliest girl there is," right? Like
Hmm.
every joke was about messing my mascara up, and like, "You boys, you gonna like leave a damsel in distress?" Like she was like every line she would like just hit you with something to remind you that she's a female.
It was also
But
funny
I thought
too, like
it was
how
hilarious.
Thunderblast and Lori like they butt heads as soon as they met. Where I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know if it was because like they're foils for each other, or
Hmm.
like just their personalities just don't mix well. Because Lori, she's a city girl too. Whereas like in the beginning, she's like, "Oh, I want to go out to the mall. I want to go hang out with my friends." And it seems like Thunderblast, like she's that type of person too. It's like she wants to go out, be seen with others, and like just enjoy like fellowship in that regard. So I don't know if it's because like they just see too much of themselves in the other person that they don't necessarily like, but it was just interesting seeing that. Just talking a little bit about the human dynamic with the Transformers and the three kids. Again, just talking about like the stuff that they've done great. Like I really appreciated how integral to the story that the kids are, because they actually do work and they actually assist the Transformers. We have, is it Kobe or Colby, like the cheese?
Kobe, Kobe like Bryant.
Kobe.
Yeah,
Okay,
with a
okay.
Yeah.
C though.
Okay, I always thought it was like Kobe, like the cheese, like that's how I was trying to remember. It's okay, but like Kobe, how he has actual like mechanical know-how, and for whatever reason, what he's like 12 or something like that, like he can fix Cybertronians, but whatever, and he made his own suit. It it kind of makes sense because like okay, he's the kid that's good with math, and like with Lori, she has a good ergonomic sense. She was like, make your base like this. That way, all the flyers can get to the sky without using as much energy, and the people who are on the ground can do this. And with Bud, even though like he was a kid, like he was exhibiting skills that a leader would, but he was just too young. Like for instance, like how he basically was in charge of the minicons when he was around, and even I really loved the one-on-one time that he had with Scourge in the playground, where he was
Yes.
basically teaching Scourge, not to be so rigid in his thinking, that like to be a leader, you have to be able to adapt for your people. And, again, like just showing that they added value to the team. So I wanted to pose that question to you guys is like, did you notice, I guess, like what were your takeaways from the relationships between the Cybertronians and the humans that were depicted in this installment of the series or franchise? We could start with Rob.
All right. So you could tell Ellis didn't want to dive in. He's not the biggest fan of the human characters, but as we've established
So long
in
as
the
Carlos
forgotten
is
episode,
people now,
in the
he's okay.
it's right. As long as they all had eyeballs, so that's
Hmm.
the biggest thing. Really, start with that. No, I mean they weren't annoying. I thought in any way. Like they had a lot of emotion. Like I mean, I liked how, basically Optimus. He made it his duty to always keep them safe. Like that was like
Yes.
usually like number one priority. Like there was
Hmm.
no like even if the Cybertron was about to like be destroyed, it's like keep the kids safe, right? So and he had made that promise to their parents and everything like that. So I thought the scene where the parents let them go, right? Like because usually it's like,
Hmm.
yeah, sure, I'm gonna let my 7-year-old go into space to like fight a war, basically. Um, I thought that was actually they did it as well as they could, right? Like
Hmm.
the parents wanted to go. They're like, well, if they're going, I'm going. And then they're like, no, 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 you can't. We need the flexible mind. You didn't even believe that the Transformers were real. Like,
Oh
so
yeah,
how
no,
could
no, no,
you,
yeah, that
assist?
that that made
Yeah,
sense. Yeah, whereas like,
yes.
yeah.
So the writers did their best. Like, there's nothing
Hmm.
like wrong with the writing. They really did think about every aspect of it and like, okay, okay, now, all right, fine, we'll let the kids go into space as long as they allow me to pack their lunch. But yeah, no, it was. I thought that they added. I mean, they were impossibly smart. They were impossibly uh, able, to, like Kobe being able to fix like he fixed stuff that the Transformers themselves couldn't figure out, like to fix
Hmm.
about their own ship and things like that. So like it was impossibly smart, but that was their, like you said, they all filled a role. Like Lori was the master like negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate with Scourge. Like
Hmm.
like if anyone could convince Scourge, to see, become part of our team, and she gave it her best shot and whatever. So yeah, they meshed, I think, very well with the cast and weren't overused or anything like that. And there was like a lot of like emotional bonds that formed
Hmm.
between the Transformers and them. So that was cool.
I would say like just real quick before we try to get Ellis's take, just like Scourge and Lori, it's still hilarious to me because like we see like the powwow and like the end of like the negotiations on Beast Planet, and I'm still watching, and I'm like in between I'm watching the show, and I'm like making dinner and stuff like that, and then I notice that like Scourge is just like palling around with the Decepticons. I'm like, wait a minute, with what happened on the Beast Planet, it's like he basically said "F you" and tried to bomb your stuff. It's like, why are you palling around with a Decepticon, Scourge? So like, what's going on? And like a few episodes of doing this, I'm like, yo, I really have questions about this. Why is he doing this? And then when Lori shows up and like she finally has like Scourge one-on-one, she asks the real questions like, Scourge, the fuck are you doing? It's like, why are you? It's like, we talked about this. It's like, why are you with them? I'm like, yes, girl, ask the real questions. The real,
yes, queen.
Like, we want to know.
Yeah, no, they made sense. Like
Yeah.
the kids, I mean, they were wise beyond their years, but they asked the right questions. Yeah.
But no, it
was like like the commercial where you're like don't turn into your father. It was like, I think, a Progressive Auto Insurance.
Yes.
Like, don't turn into your father. And the guy's like, is he standing around naked in the locker room eating cake? Like, he's like, why is he doing that? And then the guy's like, you're asking the right questions. these are appropriate questions right
yes.
now. Yeah.
Yes.
So she did do that. She asked many appropriate questions.
Exactly. So it's like the kids were like treated in a smart manner, and which I appreciate. But Ellis, do you have any thoughts on the human Cybertronian relationships or their depictions in this series?
Well, you know,
Mhm.
I'm reminded of an episode that will never see the light of day, where I went on a full 10-minute rant about my feelings about
yes.
humans
I'm
and
sorry.
Cybertronians.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
no,
That's why you've been silent. I didn't mean to rub
was
salt
buried-
in the wound,
it
sir.
It was buried deeper than the cyber key in Planet Gigantus or whatever.
Okay,
Yes.
okay, so
Gigantus, let's go.
key points of my rant. I don't like humans in my robots in my Transformers series. I really don't. I feel like they get in the way.
Yeah.
More often than not, they're complete freaking idiots.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and most of the time, especially in Armada with the fat kid and the little rat looking dude.
Yes.
It's like just fucking let him get killed. There's no loss there. There's literally no loss there. They're school bullies. They make people's lives living hell. Just let them get blasted. That's it.
Mhm.
Problem solved. You know, it's like just let it happen. When they get kidnapped, when those kids get kidnapped by the Decepticons and taken to the ghost town, it's like I'm sitting there thinking, don't go rescue them. No loss. It's like, you got the wrong kids, dumbass. You know, we don't care. We don't give a shit about those.
It's like, oh, you kidnapped the school bully? Okay, cool. I can go to school tomorrow.
Yeah, fuck them. Yeah, fuck them kids.
You made the world a better place. The end.
It's like, here, hold on. Like, I can just see the land bridge opening. Optimus stepping out, giving Cyclonus a gold star, and walking back in the gate.
Yes.
But
maybe you both can learn lessons from what you did.
Yeah. And it's like, I think that because Transformers is so, I mean, it is a kid show,
Mm-hmm.
and it is to sell toys. The idea is, you got to have a kid character integrated into it. I get that. I understand that. But there were times where, the kids in Armada, all of them, with the exception of Alexis, were more often than not, I found them insufferable.
Yes.
Alexis was the only one that was like had her stuff together. In Armada. I know B-Rad got better time later. And Kicker, can we just say it? Kicker was racist. But anyway.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Against Cybertronians or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, he got better, but that look, it was racist.
Yeah.
And
it's like, anything a robot can do, a human can do better.
He was scarred. I'm not saying that I'm excusing it. I can understand, right, to a degree.
He also he also had daddy issues, so he had a lot going on. Like his
but
issues with his dad.
To Ellis's point, he got better, but he started from a rough place, from a
Yes,
rough
he was.
start.
And what I found to be absolutely hilarious, it was like it's like to the Cybertronians' discredit, it was like you have this kid that you know can sense Energon. You know he can do this. It's like you're like, oh, he's so great. He can sense Energon. And you just want to argue with him every single time. It's like, I sense Energon incoming. We're about to be under attack. Where? I don't see anything. I don't think anything's going to happen. And then 2 seconds later, they get shot at from the exact place he tells them. You know, it's like...
Yeah.
It's like... I see where he's racist because you guys are dumb.
It's like you're perpetuating the stereotypes that he believes in.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yeah.
You're basically... No, like what you said is like you're inviting him on your journey. It's like, hey, you can do this thing, and every time he tells you about the thing, you don't listen. So it's like, why even bring him to begin with then?
Right. But yeah, go ahead, Rod.
I was just gonna say, I think that's Cybertron. I mean, I know you had promised us better, but then we were like after Armada, and then we watched Energon, and we were like, you said better. You're like, I didn't say good.
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
and then we asked you again, and you refused to say good. But I think for Cybertron, but I do actually, I would almost bump it up to like the good, and it's so much better than the kids, and everything is so much better that I don't even want to talk about Kicker anymore. Like I'm over Kicker. I'm far over B-Rad and Carlos and Alexis. Like they were lucky they got that 2 seconds at the end in the credits, you know, like with the fabulous hair for Carlos. But yeah, no, it was like I don't even want to I won't pretend like those didn't happen, because I just felt like it was much more watchable. Everything was just much more watchable in Cybertron. I would even say it was good, but I know that you were probably being very cautious about making any promises after we've been hurt twice already. So
I will agree with bumping it to good, and I will also agree that bringing, you know, that this group of kids who were not completely stupid, I liked this group of kids. They were way better than the other kids, and I think they did better. So this was where they started moving things into a good direction, with the kids being interacting with the Cybertronians, and with the Autobots and Decepticons and whatever other cons you can find. I think that this group did better.
yeah.
You were talking about Scourge. I absolutely love Scourge in Cybertron trilogy. I absolutely love him. He's my favorite out of the planet leaders.
Okay.
And it is kind of because of his arc. You know, he kind of does. You know, I feel like Metroplex was always, oh yeah, he's totally an Autobot at heart. That's just who he is to begin with. So he falls into the Autobots. Everything's great. Overdrive, I think. Overdrive.
Yeah.
Overdrive.
Yeah.
Makes more sense.
Big O. That's what we're calling her. Big O.
I don't know.
I refuse.
Okay.
I absolutely refuse.
I'm sorry.
You leave my Batman allegory alone.
Just because they took away your character's eyes doesn't mean you have to take it out on women now.
But I feel that I liked her in the sense that she was the most I'm trying to think of the best way to word the... Okay, she stayed truer to her planet than the other leaders did, and I think, and the reason I say that is she was all about the rules and regulations of her planet, and then when the conflict left, yes, she came back at the end with the other ship and all that fun stuff, but she didn't leave to go help them on their journey. She stayed with her planet to lead her planet. And I think that, you know, she was probably the best planet leader in terms of leadership, but Scourge was far and away my favorite out of the planet leaders because of his journey, and plus I just love his design on top of all of that.
It's definitely a good design. I would say, what about his journey was so compelling to you?
Well, he started off becoming a leader for the right reasons. Like he wanted to protect those weaker than him on his planet, which I feel like that's a good, way to be when it comes to a leader. He became leader, he took over in order to protect. But, in the way he did that, he had the whole, strength, who's the strongest is the rightest. And that mindset is, ultimately why he joined with the Decepticons, and he had the might makes right, but even that didn't make sense because, he watched Optimus beat Megatron multiple times while they were on the planet. But it's like
And beat
he
him.
had that, yeah, and beat him. He had this mindset, and then at the end, he had some sense talked into him by Lori, but it did join. He did join the Autobots and stuff in the end, and that's something I liked. I think he was the Armada Starscream of this season.
Oh yeah, no, I definitely see
Yeah.
that. And it's funny, just like
Yeah,
going back to Laurie's dressing down. When you mentioned that he became a king or a tyrant, it was like the line that stuck out to in my mind was when Laurie was dressing him down. It's like, you were a tyrant. It's like, but at least you tried, right?
Yeah, like yeah, right, for real.
But
you were a tyrant.
but Rob, you had some thoughts that you were about to voice.
I think, well, I was just gonna give credit to Bud though, because it was Bud who actually, the leadership school that actually he finally got through to him and made him sit like Indian style and listen to his whole little leadership. So yeah, that was it was a combination. And then when he came back, it's like, finally, Laurie's like, finally, you've got some sense in you. So yeah, so the humans played a pretty big role. But he was no, Scourge was yeah, he kind of he was always waffling, which was good. Like he was, and anytime he saw the kids, you could see the waffle. But he's like, no, I'm just gonna stick it out with these guys. I mean, ultimately, all the Decepticons were like, man, we really like tied our wagon to the wrong person with Megatron or Galvatron.
Yeah.
Because they're like, this guy stinks, right? He's horrible. And then Megatron and Galvatron's all like, I don't need it. I mean, these people they're all expendable and everything like that. So they kept that theme going through, like, you need a team, you need a team, you need a team. That's where our power is. And yeah, so they kept that, at least they kept that like little thread of a theme there. So
Something else I just want to point out, that's something that I noticed throughout, my rewatch and reread of Cybertron, because I ended up, running out of time and just blitzing the wiki. Something that I noticed was when the Decepticons failed, it wasn't the foot soldiers that failed, it was Megatron or Galvatron. Like the, you know, it was like Starscream got the planet key or the lock, and then when he hands it over to Megatron, Megatron loses it to Optimus, or Megatron loses it to something. Almost every time that the Decepticons' plans went sideways,
it was always because of
it's
Megatron.
all Megatron. Megatron's fucked it up.
And he, yeah, MFIU. No, but no, but the thing is that kind of drove him to get more, to try to gain more and more and more power. Like that was kind of part of it. Like every time he would lose, though, he would always be like, okay, I need more keys, I need more this or that, I need my armor, my Unicron armor, and everything like that. So but it's funny because we were talking about teamwork, and we talked all about like basically Decepticons, which is actually kind of cool because like you said, like they're all coming from different planets, and I think every single planet they weren't technically Decepticons, right? Like they were just people, they were just robots on those planets.
Yeah.
And every time they would go to a new planet, a couple would go off with the Decepticons, and then most probably would go off with the Autobots. And on every planet they did that, and even and almost all of those ended up coming back to the Autobots, like Menasor, which that was the one where I was like, that is not Menasor. Like that is Menasor has 5 cars, like a Porsche and a Lamborghini. So I was a little upset that he was like a drill, but I was like, okay, at least they use the name, which is pretty cool. He's gigantic, which is pretty cool. Metroplex I thought was awesome. Like he had the head, the little, the 2 little whatever you call them, like pistons on the side of his head, but like just like he had in the toy, and in the original cartoon. But yeah, someone would see like, you know what? No, I just identify better. And even like Mudflap, I had to look up his name. I just called him a crane guy. That he he also he peeled off of the Autobots and like, let's try it this way now. But all of them at the end ended up coming back, and they saw what a enormous D-bag that Galvatron ended up being, and only caring about himself. And they all were like, yeah, this wasn't the way, man. Yeah, so like most of those came back, and then you had the ragtag bunch, who were always a ragtag bunch, who just went off and did their own thing. But they were like bonded by the fact that that Megatron / Galvatron had caused them so much trauma, and
trauma bonding.
And I think that right, and I think that she, Thunderbolt Blast she was very more like practical, like who is going to win, right? Like she framed it like, which big strong man am I gonna, am I gonna like go gaga over now? Like, she made it more like a fangirl type of thing, but she was really being very like shrewd. Like, okay, didn't really work out the first time with Starscream, and then it didn't work out with Galvatron. It's like, well, let me try again with Starscream, and like, oh no, he's sending me on a suicide mission. He's sending me on a suicide mission. Like, gee, that's cool. So she's already trying to think of like, how can I get out of this? So she brings Megatron to them together. Like, that works. But yeah, no, they bonded a lot, the Decepticons, over that trauma. And then but of course the Autobots always have good teamwork, but it really was contrasting, Galvatron's style, Megatron / Galvatron style. It was always like, you're never gonna win Megatron / Galvatron because we're a team, like there's one strike, one down, there's one right after us. So yeah, they really they just kind of pounded that point home throughout. And I think that ultimately what quote defeated Megatron / Galvatron. I have to keep saying that because the different points of he was different, but like the sword finally he did beat him one-on-one, but he needed that sword. So, and he wouldn't have had that without his bond with Vector Prime.
Yeah. I want to close this out real quick so that Ellis's rant on the humans does get saved and get published. So we're gonna hear from our sponsors once again. And Ellis, who's going to be our sponsor this time around?
Well, I don't know, but we'll never get my true manifesto against humans and robots. It is lost to time. Let's see, what is a good sponsor?
How about this is brought to you by the Desert Traffic Light Society.
Desert Traffic Light.
We just want to be alone. We just want to be alone.
Yes. I checked and made sure the highlights from your manifesto they have been saved, so the world will know.
Your anti-manifesto, anti-man, anti-human manifesto.
Exactly. But I just wanted
that's just United Healthcare.
Oh no! All of us have dealt with the healthcare industry. That's going to send us on a tangent, and we would never come back from.
So teamwork, or being a team. They spent a lot of time laughing together, which was kind of cool. Like the Autobots who miraculously got all the human jokes, like even though they've never been to Earth and never watched one movie,
all the movie quotes. I think
all of
movie quotes. Yes, go on.
Kobe was going through all the lost cities, and it's like, how about naming a lost city that isn't in an old Hollywood movie? And then all the Autobots are like, ah! Like as if you know the old movies. But they like I said, I think they just, even if they didn't get it, they would still laugh. They were kind of like that kind of a group, and they did spend a lot of time joking, and that there was less like the friction. Like I think they tried to build this friction in Armada between different characters. Like he's the serious one. I don't know if it was Red Alert or whoever it was, and then he's the the goof off, whether it was Hotshot or whoever it was, and they always try to build some friction, and then they kiss and make up later. But they didn't really force that this time. There, except for with Mudflap and whoever he had his falling out with. Yeah, that was a legit fallout. Like they're like they were on different sides, you know. So for the most part, they all like got along really well, and no one caused any like major trouble. I know that what was it, Wing Saber, I think his personality changed. I don't know, because he was the guy who like whose friend died on Cybertron.
He had a big personality change in this series, where like his personality was more akin to Jetfire in Armada, where he was, I would say, like Jetfire was more capable. So like Wing Saber felt like a cheap imitation, whereas Jetfire in Armada, he was confident, near cocky, because he could handle the situation. And you know, when they were bringing up Wing Saber, it's like, oh, this is the one guy. He's a troublemaker. He talked back to Optimus. He even hit Optimus, and he was like, yeah, because he deserved it. And like he goes off and he tries to do his thing, but he always needs help. So it's just like, okay, you're just annoying. You're not necessarily capable. You're just annoying. But I mean,
and I don't remember him. I was really racking my brain. When did he really hit Optimus? Like, do you remember, or is that just made up for this, for his character for this one? I don't remember that, him hitting Optimus. He was like such a like straight edge guy in the last one, where he just was like, I just want to avenge my friend's death, and you know, and I will merge with you, Optimus, whatever it takes. So I don't remember.
I don't remember what part of the story it was, but I vaguely remember him slugging Optimus.
Okay.
Because I remember, because you know he has the machine gun barrels for hands, and I vaguely remembering him pop Optimus, but
It wasn't when they were pseudo combining, right? Like when they were in the asteroid field, or was it before that?
My legs hit your torso. Sorry.
I think that might have been around that time. But you know, every time I think of that, I can't help but think of Gurren Lagann. You know, art of manly combining.
Yes. No, I need you to turn this way.
Yes. That is how I feel every time I see that sequence.
Fighting spirit! Oh,
but yeah.
Dude, yes. But I would say, like, with just going back to the interactions in between, like, the different characters, like, that Rob was touching upon, whether it was between Red Alert and Hotshot, or Sky Saber, right? We just
Wing Saber.
I'm sorry. Wing Saber and Optimus, right? It's like the different personalities. Like, I guess because the writing in this one was a lot better, it felt more organic, right? In that regard. So it's like if a character had an issue with another character, there was sense behind it. It wasn't for the sake of the plot. It made sense integrally to the story or to how the characters operated. Trying to think if so I guess, like, just to slowly, like, wind down and bring it back, or just sort of winding down, talking up on Cybertron, I would say, like, Ellis, I do want to just because I mentioned, like, Rob's, like, final thoughts at the end of the last time that we all sat down, but I didn't get to yours. But one of your thoughts was that as far as like resurrecting the series, it should be all together and not individually. And again, you had mentioned that like Cybertron brings all the good things that Armada, while improving what Energon had. Do you still stand by those feelings, or has this rewatch made you change those feelings at all?
No, I still stand by it.
Mm-hmm.
You can't watch one.
Mm-hmm.
Like well, you might could get away with doing that with Cybertron,
Yeah.
but you would still be like, what caused the black hole? What was your motivation?
Mm-hmm.
You'd miss like the why. So I think you do pretty much have to watch them as one unit, one chunk. And I know that that's 150 episodes. I get that, and 2/3 of it is a slogfest. I get that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, where I might differ on is Cybertron is the best part of the series, and Cybertron is worth a watch. It's worthy of a watch. But I'm just, looking back on it now, I'm just not 100% sure it warrants an entire resurrection of the entire Unicron trilogy. It by
Oh.
itself,
Mm-hmm.
yes, it's worth a watch. It
Mm-hmm.
by itself, if you could, I'm gonna change my perspective a little bit. I'm gonna say read the wiki on the main plot points for Armada and Energon, and then watch Cybertron.
Okay.
Um,
I can consider that amendum. Whereas like just a little sprinkle of homework or a little bit of a disclaimer is like,
yeah,
hey, if you're gonna be the person where like this is gonna bother you, then read this.
yeah. And I would implore anyone to do look up the character designs because, and I have and like I mentioned in the Lost episodes,
Hmm.
um, I I love the designs. I
Hmm.
always have, and it goes across the board for any mecha. Whether I think the mecha is bad or good, I have a fondness for mecha design. And so I will say definitely look up the designs even if you don't want to watch the entire series, because I do think that the artwork and the mechanics are very well done across the board. I think the gimmickry that they did in that is where the Unicron trilogy shines. That is the golden age of Transformers gimmicks. We haven't
Hmm.
had anything go to that height before, and we haven't had anything go to that height since. We've had complexity
Hmm.
in transformations with the Michael Bay movies. We've had complexities in the transformations, you know, but we've never had that height of, oh, look what this toy can do. You know,
So,
look what
mhm.
this person can, look what this can do. We haven't had that peak anymore. And that's where it's probably the best of the Transformers franchise is in. Okay, so the elephant in the room is Transformers is to sell toys,
Yeah.
but that is where the toys were peak. They had sounds, they had lights, they had spring-loaded gimmicks, they had missiles, and nowadays, and I say this to someone who is active in purchasing Transformers toys,
Hmm.
the they're the plastic is better quality, I'll grant that. They don't have spring-loaded, they don't for the most part, they don't have spring-loaded gimmicks. Lights and sounds are gone. There are no missiles.
Do you
You
think
you
that's
might
because of choking hazards, or do you think there's another reason for
Yes.
that?
I think part of it is choking hazards and
Hmm.
getting and little Timmy got shot in the eye. I'll grant that. I will grant that, but I will also grant that frankly, it's a cop out on cost.
Mm.
You know, I'm not even saying that the missiles have to fire. I'm just saying a flip out launcher. Where you pull a
Yeah.
lever and the launcher flips up, like,
Because I was
or
going to ask you about the gimmicks, but I think you had touched on it, where it's just like spring loaded. So it's like you attach a minicon, you have like the key,
the
or
Cyber
like
Planet key.
yeah, the Cyber Planet
Yeah,
keys, where it's like you have a place to insert it, and then something else pops up where it can do other things.
right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I got, um, and even going far back as Beast Wars,
Mm-hmm.
they had the missiles, they had flip out stuff. I had Armadillo, and he was a one-step transforming character. You flipped his tail up, and the whole robot sprang out of the shell.
Oh, that's cool.
I mean, and that was 1994.
Mm-hmm.
So, but today, everything's manual. There's no quote unquote automorph feature.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you will still get combining. That's still a thing to an extent. But like there's no missiles, there's no spring loaded gimmickry, spring loaded weapons. You know, they the toys are better, the posability is way better.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the actual bit of it being a toy is better. The bit where it has a action feature or something, or replicating something that was done in the show that you thought was super cool, that's all gone.
So I guess.
That doesn't
Mhm.
happen.
But
Yeah,
like thinking on that.
Many lawsuits,
Too many
but also cost
lawsuits.
saving, like you said.
But like it
If
does.
you can sell
Mhm.
something without those extra parts, right? Like you're gonna just go ahead and do that. You're gonna save. You're gonna spend less money, and you're gonna make more money. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I,
Yeah, that's what it
yeah.
is.
I was.
And
Mhm.
go ahead.
No, because a thought occurred to me, because and you've been keeping up with the franchises and the shows, I'm assuming, because you mentioned like Prime, and I'm sure there were several other shows that came out. But would you say that the toys reflect the shows, in the sense that, because I feel like as a whole, like the medium is like, okay, like everything's like become a bit more serious, right? It's like, okay, we need to tell like a more cohesive story, or be more drama, not necessarily gimmick driven. And so you see that reflected in the show, whereas like in these last two shows, like it was gimmick driven. It's like, oh, they need to get the minicons, they have to get the cyber planet keys, they have to combine with other people, get energon stars, right? Like it was all
Right.
very gimmick driven. Whereas like in Prime, there's no real gimmick, it's mainly just story driven.
I think for something like
Mm-hmm.
Prime, I haven't seen it obviously, but
Okay,
you've
yeah,
already sold the models are sold. Everybody know. I'm
yeah.
guessing they harken back a little bit to older models, but whatever. But this is basically the power going back to the Power Rangers. This is basically the model that they have followed. It's like when the first 3 seasons of Power Rangers, right? We're gonna the same costumes, the same everything, and they're like,
Mhm.
we need to sell more toys. So what do they come up with? We're going to change them every season now. We're going to give them new costumes, new weapons, new Zords, new everything.
Yeah.
And I think Transformers figured that out. Like when they killed off everybody in the movie, and they're like, they didn't kill it off because they didn't like those characters. They were like, they killed it off because they needed to make room, because they were not going to produce that toy anymore. They're not going to make any more Optimus Primes. They're going to make Rodimus Prime, and that's what we're going to sell the kids. And we don't want them asking for Optimus Prime because we're not making that. So we have to get him out of the show.
Yeah.
So like that's what they learned. And I hate to show my feminine side a little bit, but like My Little Ponies too, right? Like they were always trying to create. I watched
Are
the
you
toys
telling
that
me
made
you're a
us, and
brony, sir? Is that what you're
I will.
saying?
I have known I have known to travel in brony spaces,
It's
but
okay. Don't
basically
worry. I like Rainbow Dash
basically
too.
they right, the rump stamp, right? Like they had new rump stamps. They
Yes.
had like different. They got unicorns, Pegasuses. They made them have shinier bling, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really the story behind it. Is like they're just trying to make it different, more colorful, more action, more something that the kids will want to buy. And like he said, that's the elephant in the room. It really wasn't. I think finally you're seeing Transformers standing on its own, where it's like people will watch it, and they will watch it, and you'll make money. You can have commercials, you have other things. Adults will watch it, and you don't necessarily need to make it all about toy line anymore. So that's probably why you're seeing what you're seeing in the newer ones.
Yeah, the new toy lines.
It's funny. It's funny you mentioned My Little Pony, because at the height of the brony thing,
Mm-hmm.
like that, when Friendship Was Magic was coming out, that was concurrent with Prime. They came on right after each other.
Really? Okay. So
like on the
yeah,
hub. Like they were, they were
contemporaries. Yeah.
contemporaries.
Okay.
Yeah. And they did a lot of the same things, and they did a lot of the same things right.
Mm-hmm.
So that
They
picked out,
means
yeah.
yeah. I'm sorry.
I watched
you were saying,
the
Rob?
documentary for that. Yeah, because they picked the writer of the My Little Pony was the writer for the Powerpuff Girls, which was like known to be like cool and edgy kind of cartoon, even though it was all three little girls.
Yeah.
So I think they just got better. They picked better writers, and just like we saw with Castlevania and things like, they
Mm-hmm.
weren't trying to sell a video game. They were it's almost like anime now, right? It sells itself, right? You could put it in the movie theater and you beat every other movie. You don't need to sell the action figure version of whatever that, I'm sure you know better than me, but the Demon Slayer
Yeah.
character, you don't need to. You're gonna sell tickets to the movie itself.
What they need to do is sell better popcorn buckets and more popcorn buckets, but that's a rant for another day.
Here, not always run out of movie posters, so
I
at least
know,
give us
right?
something, right? But yeah, no, it's but yeah, like I looked at the toys and I want all of them. They're awesome. The combined nature, and Ellis said he has the addiction. I don't know if he put it that way, but like the adult buying toys that can't really stop. So at some point I started buying the Zords, the new ones, right, of Power Rangers, and they're so cool. You can take them apart, put them together. They're like Legos. You can connect them to, and they have so many other features. Like, I haven't really bought that many Transformers, lately, just because like that kind of fed that inner child wanting to like play with something that was like a little bit more complicated.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what I will say, to to kind of, I don't want to say to even out what I said earlier about the gimmickry.
Yeah.
The toys, when they made them, there was a level of show accuracy that was lost because you were making the toy be able to do the things on the show.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a level of accuracy that and proportions that were off with the toys. Now, because they've omitted a lot of that, they've omitted a lot of that, and of course they still come with the important accessories. That hasn't changed, but the character models themselves and the accuracies of the alternate modes are so much better. They are so much better. Like, I had, when I was a kid, the only way you would have a perfect alt mode, as if it was when it was a shell former, where it just encased the robot in whatever mode it had. And then you turn it into a robot, but then you'd have all the kibble hanging off the back.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a trade-off. Now they've kind of been able to, make it, technology and design for toys have progressed to the point where it's a lot better as far as a toy. I have the Kingdom. Kingdom was recent on Netflix. As part of the War for Cybertron's trilogy. While I don't have the Megatron, the T-Rex Megatron. I do have the Jurassic Park crossover, Tyrannicon, and I do have the T-Rex, which was the Autobot version. It was just, T-Rex is just Beast Wars Dinosaur Megatron in a different color scheme, and and with a different personality. He's a heroic Maximal. Both of them have like a rubbery, scaly texture overlaid in their beast modes.
That's cool.
And it feels more like skin or scales or something like that. And I think that they went with making the base figure better, and they weren't so much on the gimmicks. And I do think that's a fair and even trade-off. It's just I do miss some of the missile launchers. I do miss some of the spring out stuff.
I miss some of the choking hazard risk.
I do. I do, because
I want a little risk when I'm playing with my toys. I want to know
let
that
Darwinism
I
do
could
its
possibly
thing.
die in this battle as well.
Unless your kid will live if he's not a total idiot. Let the actuarial tables do their thing. But
you can still drive a car with one eye. It's fine.
There's
fuckers that have one eye.
With the new Honda Sense, it basically drives itself.
I mean, people have been captaining ships with one eye for just millennia, right?
Oh, wait. So.
And they sing great. They drink rum and sing wonderful songs doing it.
Right.
But
they hardly ever run aground.
So, you mentioned the Honda Civic, and that reminds me, because like there was a group of toys. I don't know if you would consider them toys. But they would have like the G1 Megatron and the G1 Optimus that can auto transform. That's completely electronic, right? And you would just give them the voice command. So I guess, and I know like with those are like really high end and really expensive, but we are seeing a lot more of those.
What do you mean expensive? The Grimlock is only $1,200. What do you mean?
The life-size Unicron for like at the price of a house, that's not expensive.
Yeah, it's half a mortgage.
I just remember watching a video where the guy's like Megatron falls off the table or something, and he's just like, "Oh my god, I paid $20,000." I was like, "What? How much?"
Like, no.
I was like, "That's." Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm not ever gonna be that big a fan, but yeah. No, I actually like.
Have you seen the third? Kind of taking this in a little bit direction, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but talking about that? Have you seen the third-party Metroplex that's in scale?
No.
Okay, now that I have.
How big is that?
That thing is seriously like, it's person-sized. It is full-grown adult size.
Holy guacamole!
And it weighs like, I don't remember right off my hand, but I think it weighs like 80 pounds.
But so we got a little bit of Ellis's take, where it's just like Cybertron can be resurrected by itself with a few stipulations, a few wiki reads, right? So Rob, what are your overall thoughts now that you've come to the end of this trilogy?
The road.
Yes, end of the road, and seeing that there's like a lot more that you can get into. Like there's the Kingdom series, there's the Prime series. Like how I want your take, like being like an OG G1 fan, having seen all of this and being exposed to even more like Transformers stuff. Like what are your thoughts overall?
Now that I've invested in YouTube Premium, so I can watch things at 2.5 speed. So
yes.
That's the only way. That's the only way I was able to get through.
I may not be able to get Grimlock, but I have YouTube Premium.
Right. Which is like, it's still playing on my phone even though I turned it off. What's the deal? So yeah, no, it's kind of like almost wish that in a little way I had left it back in the past. But no, there were, like I said, there were like nice Easter eggs throughout,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll read off a couple of mine because I said, like, you know, throughout the entire Cybertron series, they kept rehashing lines from the battle between Optimus Prime and Megatron, like, you know, why throw away your life so recklessly, and like, you know, um, just, we have to, Megatron must be stopped no matter what the cost, and they just kept bringing him back and bringing him back, and it was kind of cool, and I still function. That was what Megatron said at the end when he didn't want the Decepticons to abandon him, and so there were cool Easter eggs, the Soundwave thing, all the names that come back. You know, they bring back nice memories, like you know, even though that's not Scourge from the
Yes.
movie, it's still the name Scourge. Okay,
Mhm.
you know, like, even though that's not Jetfire that I remember, it's Jetfire. You know, but so he didn't have an Australian accent, or he didn't even have that in the last series. But so things change. But you know, it didn't have the magic for me. Like, nothing can have the magic, I guess, like
Mhm.
you had when you were a kid. Yeah, and I missed combiners, like true combiners, like
Mhm.
5 into 1, or, you know, like, I missed that. They did not try to do that. But overall
But no,
overall, it can't say it was bad writing. It was solid writing. It was solid comedy at times. You know, solid story. But it kind of just lacked a little magic for me. I think that's would be my final take as far as, like, for an OG fan.
okay. And so, like, now, like, having watched the whole series as a whole, where do you land on the resurrection or the reburying?
I would say I would go a little farther than the wiki notes. I would probably watch, like, a YouTube recap. Maybe that might be a
Okay.
little place. But like you said, the biggest thing you would lose from not watching the first two is the Unicron part, right? Like, it's
Mhm.
called the Unicron trilogy for a reason. Like, he's a monster and he's awesome, and like, he was cool, and and defeating him was hard, and then there was, like, the trying to control him in the second one, and like, that is really would be a missing for me. Everything else I probably could just throw away. I would put it very, very, very low on my list if I was trying to bring an OG Laps fan back into the Transformers fray. I'd say it that way. I'd have to see other ones like Prime before I
Yes.
could say exactly how low.
Well, okay. So then, like, we got Ellis, where it's just like, you wiki spark notes, and then the Cybertron series if you have to watch it, and Rob, where it's just like, okay, watch like a YouTube light reel and then watch the series if you're there. And I would say, like, for me, I in the line of camp with Rob, where where you had mentioned, where it's like it's a really good show kid, and like, because of that, it's like it's not it's good in terms of it's well enough with writing, right? And like the stakes are high enough, and there's not too much thriller or anxiety, and some of the things that they touch upon, whereas like people were leaving, like we mentioned, like they were done fairly well for how they were addressing it. So as far as kids go, I would resurrect this show for a kid, and I I guess I would just be bad. Like, I would just throw them into it. It's like they ask about Unicron. It's like, he turned into a black hole. Now they're dealing with the black hole. It's like, okay, cool. Like, if they need to know more, then I'll show them anything else. But I mean, to both of your points, right? Where it's just like, because it is the Unicron trilogy, so like if you want to have like the entire experience, you need to know about like what all it took to get to that point. It's just that for me, having to reconcile the continuity issues and some of the other failings in the other series, it's just very, very hard to do. So it's like, for me, I would say, like, if you do have to resurrect, I would say like probably just this series, nothing else. And even then, it's like, this is something that I would show to a kid, not necessarily like a Lapsed fan or anything else like that. Because
And I was actually going to bring up the War for Cybertron trilogy on Netflix.
yeah, I'm sorry,
I
yeah,
think
just War
for
for Cybertron,
someone
yeah.
I think if someone is a lapsed fan like Rob was, that's where you send them.
Yeah.
I really feel like that's where they need to go. If there's somebody that's brand new to the Transformers franchise as a whole, send them to Prime.
Yeah.
Send them straight to Prime. That's kind of how I feel. I think there's much better options than the Unicron trilogy for a first-time fan or a returning fan. So yeah, I think that I hate to say I'm gonna to further my point earlier. Yeah, outright bury Armada and Energon.
Yes.
Take them out back. Do them like Yella. Do them like old Yella.
Yes.
But I think Cybertron, their plan was to make something good that's still tied into the previous series. And I think for the most part they succeeded. But for a returning fan, it's War for Cybertron trilogy all day. Netflix it. For a person who's never had anything to do with with Transformers, I would say go with Prime. It's just there are a lot. I know there are a lot newer options, but there are also far better options.
Yeah. And it's funny because I saw a meme the other day, because now my Instagram has like Transformers stuff like for you and for you options, and one person's like, oh, a new Transformers series, and like they start watching, it's like, well, time to rewatch Prime.
yeah, I saw that same thing.
So and like as we said too, because like I would say like with Prime, because Prime it feels more like elevated Cybertron writing, whereas like they like you still have like the human element, it's still dealing with kids, but like the writing is that much better. Whereas like some of the other stuff that we watch, like they don't talk down to kids, the kids aren't dumb, and the kids like they all have like their own personality and their own quirks, things of that nature. Like they allow the characters to be themselves and have that impact the story. And I would say like with the War for Cybertron, like what we mentioned before, like it's dark and it's gritty, and I'm just thinking because like there are times where it's really depressing, but
yeah,
I ate it up, and like I'm like I need more. I guess because like it wasn't like each series in the War for Cybertron trilogy, like each series was like 6 or 8 episodes. So it's not like it was 50 episodes of filler. It's just 6 or 8 episodes of distilled story. And that like even though like it was very dark, like it's in short spurts where you can take it in, and it's not like Rick and Morty where you're just wallowing in the pain for the sake of wallowing in it. Is like you're trying to get to the end of the story, that in that sort of regard. But aside from that, I appreciate both of you for.
Aside from that, loved it.
Besides from all the if you take away all the terrible things, it's great.
If you just turn your brain off to some of these things, I mean, I would say with Cybertron, like for me, it was like it was good where it could be fun, because like I had more fun watching this than all the other shows, just because of like the comedy was better, and like just I wanted to see my boys Ransack and Crumple Zone just be themselves, and just like, yes, let's do it. But no, it seems like a resounding like across the board where it's just like, don't do the Unicron trilogy if you don't have to.
Do it.
Gun to your head, maybe. Maybe.
But like, who else besides us is even considering it, right? Like in 2025, we have to thank Sench for this idea that I had no idea what I was getting into. I'm like, Transformers sounds cool. No, but I get the anime tie-in, so you know, it did have that. So
no.
Yeah,
yeah. You're about to say something else.
Yeah, I was just gonna, I was trying to think of how to describe
Mm-hmm.
the newer series, especially like if someone were to have seen Transformers
Mm-hmm.
or seen the Michael Bay stuff, and it kind of took them out of Transformers, to kind of put a sour taste in their mouth.
Yeah.
For the Transformers franchise, I would say go. If you're trying to get back into it, do give Prime the watch. It's the good parts about the first Michael Bay movie minus Michael Bay, and you let the writers cook. It's the same writers from the first Transformers movie. Transformers Prime is.
I was wondering why it felt that way because, like you said, it felt very influenced by Michael Bay, but I didn't know if that was just because that's what people recognized, and so they stuck with that aesthetic. Or
no, it's the same writers.
Yeah. Okay.
But what they did is they took Michael Bay away from it and let the writers cook and do their own thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, they let the writers have more reign to develop the story, and it's so good.
I would say
it's so good
because you're allowing the writers to do what they want. They can utilize the actors to their best ability. I mean, you've had. You could say like they had good actors in the first film, but like I would say, to what you said, right? It's like you let the actors do what they need, and they had quality actors. I forgot what the name. The big green dude, in Transformers Prime. I don't remember that character's name, but his voice. Yeah, Bulkhead. Bulkhead's voice actor. You may not recognize his voice, but like you look him up, he's been in everything, and everything he does is gold. And
Starscreams too.
Oh, Steve Bloom, yeah. So it's just like they're because you're giving the writers, good writers, free reign, and you're giving them quality people to work with. Like they're going to have something spectacular. So
exactly. And I'm just gonna, to all you G1ers out there, hint, Rob. It's Cullen and Welker.
It's Cullen and Welker. Okay. Are they doing anything?
No, I mean, that's Optimus. It's the OG
original.
Optimus.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
And it's Frank Welker, who is OG Megatron, and I mean also Scooby Doo and a lot of other things. But
So that is one thing, and I'm not going to go off on it because I think you're getting close to wrapping it up. But that was one thing in the very beginning. It was like, when are they going to get Megatron's voice right again? And they even switched his. They even switched his voice mid. Like I did thought it was me, but then I read in the wiki they did switch his voice mid series. So yeah, no, I'm sold.
Mid series of Cybertron.
Yeah.
Oh.
But yeah, no. If you're telling me it's the same people from the original, yeah. Because they really did make their voice acting really did make it the series like a lot better. So the original voice of Unicron was Orson Welles, right? Like he was like a humongous star, like Citizen Kane, and that's who they got, and that brought depth. I was like, whoa, dude! They went hard with the voice of Unicron.
It's just to wrap this up because I know like I've taken enough of your time regarding the Transformers series, and I do thank you guys on being with me on this journey. I did not expect it to be like this.
3 parts. It was a tragedy in 3 parts.
Exactly, a tragedy.
You know what? If you think about it, it actually fits the Unicron trilogy.
Yes, this is the best.
Two train wrecks, and then
train wreck.
You got a little something out of the. You got a little something out of the second one, and then now hopefully this will be like good.
2 train wrecks at a stoplight in the middle of nowhere. Wanting to do more with their life.
Dang, this is a long light. Come on. Why do you even need a stoplight here? It's not even an intersection.
Thank you guys again for going down memory lane, experiencing new things, and you know, like Rob, like dipping back into the Transformers franchise with us, Ellis, helping me remember that War for Cybertron and Prime is out there. Hopefully our pain was enjoyment for you. I do want to ask, like, do you guys...
I told you.
Yes.
You warned us.
I told you. I warned you.
You did.
And I
You
also
warned us
warned
that was...
that, yeah. I also warned you that after the last loss of the previous episode, that I would just be singing Prime's praises this episode.
Yes,
And
yes.
I feel like I've done that.
Yes. You have become the Prime ambassador. But as we wrap up, are there any projects that you guys have done or are in the works with that you would like our listeners to follow up with you in the future, or anything else like that? I know that
we'll be showcasing my toy collection. No, that would be more Ellis to showcase. I have a. I guess I don't need to plug it because it's in development and I'm still a student of it. But I have been developing a game called Alien vs. Kid, and it's on itch.io, so we can drop the link in there if people want to call me out of my bugs for the game. But yeah, it's you know, it's fun.
All right.
But it's for kids. Speaking of for kids, right? Like I had to remind people, this is for kids. You shouldn't have the aliens assassinate you in 2 seconds when you start the game, even though they wanted to. But so yeah, so I understand.
Like some people have been playing Souls for too long.
I'm thinking about developing that into because I have a lot of model kits and a lot of Transformers. Thinking about doing like little quick reviews where not like a huge in-depth review, but where I just like hit the highlights of each one.
Okay, yeah. Like once like that's up and running, let me know and I'll link it in the bio and the video, you know.
I haven't.
Yeah, you were going to say.
Yeah, I haven't filmed anything yet, and I'm still kicking around the idea and figuring it out logistically. But I will.
Careful.
Yeah, I know, right?
We won't get involved in that process. Edit.
I'm so lonely. But anyway,
like I said, like I can't wait to see like if you start doing like some of the highlight reviews. That would be definitely good to see. Definitely like to promote any projects that any of our guests are doing, especially, you know, just want to show appreciation for you guys taking the time to come and talk with us about shows, whether they be good or ill. But again, appreciate your time, guys, and just quick wrap up. Again, if you want to watch anything Transformers, don't touch it unless it has OG names attached to it.
With OG characters.
OG names, OG characters. That's how you know to watch it. And thank you, dear listeners, for being with us on this journey. And be a blessing to others. And until next time, hasta pronto.